Hey, Shalom, family. Shalom, Shalom. This your brothers with the servant. Hey, this your brother Eli.
It's your brother, y'all.
Hey, man, coming back with another Truth Revealing Tuesday, man. Coming back with a Truth Revealing Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? You want to go and speak, say something real quick, Ken. I got to pop off.
Con. Hey, man. So again, another Truth Revealing Tuesday, right? And so today we going in some more history. Always, all praise the Most High, right? And we chiefly going to our Northern Kingdom brothers, right? The Reubenite brothers and the Gadite brothers and the different things that happened to them in history under the oppression of the so-called white man. And we also going to correlate and show you how that these people are Israelites, right? And I want to bring out this precept while this wait on the brother. Bring out this precept right quick.
I'm good. I'm good.
Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, you go ahead.
Now, just start off with Psalms 85 and 11.
Kind of that's exactly what I'm gonna go to.
Yep, this is spirit. Yep. Psalms 85 and 11. So, hey, man, we've been tapping on this history all month long through the spirit and blessing and power of the Most High, man, showing you the history of the Reubenites and the Gadites. And so we're gonna keep doing it tonight. This season, this series four, this the fourth series, and we still going into these history. And we're going into this war. You know what I'm saying? The topic gonna be on tonight is the wars which led to the demise of Reuben and Gad. The wars which led to the demise of Reuben and Gad. And this is what we're gonna go into tonight. So, you know what I'm saying? You can go and crack it off with that, King.
The book of Psalms, chapter 85 and verse 11. It says, "Truth shall spring out of the earth, and righteousness shall look down from heaven."
So it says the truth is going to spring down from where? Out of the earth, right? And it said, and righteousness shall look down from heaven. So what will cause this truth to spring out of the earth? Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 2. Because as you see in these last days right now, you got a lot of Israelite men waking up, teaching this Bible, teaching our people who we are, why we are at the bottom of society. You know what I'm saying? Being able to differentiate which tribes is the northern kingdom, which tribes are the southern kingdom, how to prove how he's Judah, how he's Benjamin, how he's Levi, how he's Ephraim, Gad, Manasseh, Simeon. You know what I'm saying? Zebulun on down the list. So this is how we are able to allow the truth to spring forth out of the earth. Get that Deuteronomy 32 and verse 2, King.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
My doctrine shall drop as the rain.
Right?
My speech shall distill as the dew.
The Lord said his doctrine was going to spring, shall drop as the rain. So it was the Lord who dropped this understanding on us, men of the Lord, right? It was the Lord who dropped this doctrine on us. So with that, this is why the truth is springing out of the earth. And this is why we are coming out, revealing the truth every Tuesday by the power of the Most High. So we ain't going to waste no time, man. We're going to get straight to it. So this is going into the wars that led to the demise of Reuben and Gad. The demise that led to the fall of Reuben and Gad. All right, King. So we're going to open up with the book of Genesis, chapter 49 and verse number 1. So before we go into these wars, right, let's go into the scriptures first. Let's go into the scriptures and show you how we know that these people are Israelites, right? And when you read the book of Genesis, chapter 49, and you read the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, these are like maps or locators to help you determine and differentiate through the scriptures and through history where the Israelites are, who they are, the characteristics of them, and how you will be able to know and prove that that is them. So, man, when you get there, let's read that. Deuteronomy 49 and verse number 1.
It's Genesis chapter 49 and verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
Right? Come on.
Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father.
Come on.
Reuben, thou art my firstborn.
Right. So as we went to last week, Reuben is the firstborn son of Jacob. Come on.
Con, my might, in the beginning of my strength. The excellency of dignity
And he
in
said
the
he said that Reuben would be excellent in having great dignity and being a nation of very strength. The Reubenites, which the world knows as the Seminole Indians, are a nation of people well known for having strong strength, and they had great dignity in the way that they carried themselves as a nation. But go ahead.
excellency of power,
Mhm.
unstable as water,
And he said unstable as water, but another word for that unstableness is unruly, right? And he's going to explain why they became unruly. Come on.
thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed. Then defilest thou it, he went up to my couch.
And he went up to my couch and did what? He laid with his father's handmaid, bondmaid. So that's the reason why now when you go to the book of First Chronicles, let's read this 5:1 real quick. Let's go to the book of First Chronicles 5:1. Read that.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 5, verse 1. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn. But for as much as he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given unto the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel.
Right. We're just talking about Ephraim. Watch this. Come on.
And the genealogy is not to be reckoned after the birthright, for Judah prevailed above his brethren, and of him came the chief ruler,
And of him
but,
came the chief ruler. Come on.
but the birthright was Joseph's.
Okay, come. So we know that the chief ruler comes through the house of David, which is our Lord Yahushua, and the head tribe of the northern kingdom now would be in default. The tribe of Ephraim, they are they are the ones that received the birthright. But now let's jump down to verse 19 in Genesis 49. So we're gonna go and get through this. So we're gonna show through the prophecies how you would know the characteristics of the Reubenites and of the Gadites. Come on.
Con, Genesis 49 and verse 19. Gad, a troop shall overcome him,
So the Bible prophesied that a troop shall overcome the biblical Gadites in the earth in the last days. Come on.
but he shall overcome at the last.
But at the last, before the destruction of the world, the Bible prophesies that the Gadites will overcome at the end, meaning we will come back in the power and, you know what I'm saying, take care of those who, you know what I'm saying, did us wrong. So now we're going to go in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 33, right? We was going to do a little recap, but for the sake of time, we just going to go and get straight to the nitty gritty. Come on. Deuteronomy 33 and verse number 6.
Deuteronomy 33 and 6. Let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few. And this is the blessing of Judah. And he
Right. So
said,
stop right there. So it said, let Reuben live and not die, and let not his men be few, because in the last days, Moses knew and our forefather Jacob knew that the tribe of Reuben, alongside with the tribe of Gad, they were going to be going through major wars in the last days. The same way that in the old world, when you look at Gad and Reuben, they dwelt amongst each other in the last days in this world or in America today. It was going to be similar to the same. You were going to have majority of Reuben and Gad dwelling together. Let's prove that real quick. We're going to get this in Numbers chapter 32. Read Numbers 32 and 1 real quick, King.
Numbers 32 and 1. Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very few great multitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that behold, the place was a place for cattle.
Come on.
The children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spake unto Moses and to Eleazar the priest and unto the princes of the congregation, saying, Ataroth and Dibon and Jazer and Nimrah and Heshbon and Elilah and Shabam and Nebo and beyond, even the country which the Lord smote before the congregation of Israel is a land for cattle, and thy servants have cattle.
Right.
Wherefore,
Come
he
on.
said they, if we have found grace in thy sight, let this land be given unto thy servants for a possession, and bring us not over Jordan.
So as we can see, even during the time of our forefather Moses, Reuben and Gad always have dwelt as neighbors amongst each other. So it shouldn't be no surprise now in the last days when you're looking at this history and when we going into these wars that you will hear about the Reubenites and the Gadites having these wars with the Edomites. But not only so, but alongside and with that, a lot of times they linked up together. They had wars together. They had meetings together. You know what I'm saying? And at one point, they kept Sabbaths and feast days together. And we're going to prove that, right? You got something you want to bring out before I go to the next point?
All right, keep cooking, King. Keep cooking.
All right, so we're going to go on to the next thing now. Let me see. Let me stop this real quick because I want to share the whole ground. So what we're going to go into today, this show, right? And we're going to debunk a few lies in the process because a lot of people in listening to records, they want to make you think that a lot of the Israelites here were wicked people. But when you go into the records tell you of the ancient men that was there that is not so. So we're going to go into this, right? The first book we're going to go into today is a book called The Great Mystery. This first book is called The Great Mystery. Bear with me 1 second while I pull this up. You can see that, King?
Kind of, I can see it.
All right, so we're going to start at the top. So it show you it's a book. This ain't nothing we wrote or made up of our own power. So now let's get into it.
Come on.
All right. This is the name of the book. The Great Mystery Explained, or the Indians of America Proven to be the 10 Tribes of Israel by Dr. Daniel H. Lawrence. And you can see that at the bottom. When was this book published, King?
Cincinnati, 1851.
What the hell? Salakia. My bad. Yeah, Cincinnati in 1851. I guess I'm heavy-handed. And as you can see, this is a very old book due to the stains on the book, the wear and tear on the book. So now we're going to go to the next one. So if you may, King, read that. I want you to start on the left side where it says note. Can you see that?
Con. yeah, bring a little, yeah, con.
And this is the reason why we're going to read this right here, because this is very important. And if you know history, and most of us do because we are the Israelites, in 1851, the Israelites were still in slavery and at the bottom of society. And like my mighty brother Elijah brought out, you know what I'm saying? They had rules and laws in place where it was illegal for the slaves to know how to read. The slaves weren't allowed to know how to read. So now when you think about this book that Daniel H. Lawrence is bringing out, who was he writing this book to? And why was he writing this book? And you're going to find out eventually, right? But now read this, King.
Con. It says, note, gentle reader, you need not expect that I am going to weary your patience or my own by giving you a lengthy preface or formal apology.
Yeah, my bad. Salah, go ahead. You're right.
And as for introduction, I will hereby introduce you to the body of the work and let you read for yourself.
He said he's going to let them read for themselves. So what we're about to read next, right? He's about to show them who the Israelites are. And he's going into this because why? During the time of the 15, 16, and 1700s, when the Spaniards, the conquistadors, first came to America, and we have shown y'all through many books in the past, they have always did great interrogation, investigation, and deep studying on who are these people in this new land here. Are they the Israelites, the lost tribes of Israel that we read about in the writings, or are they Indians? Are they from India? Are they from Mongoloidism, right? Who are these people and where did they come from? So now Dr. Daniel, I ain't gonna keep saying his whole name, but Dr. Daniel was a person who did great, excellent research, and through his studies and interacting amongst the Gadites in the Northern Kingdom, he came to find out that these people were indeed Israelites, right? And when you read this, as you can see, this book was in 1850, so they have no reason to lie, because who was he writing this book to? He was writing this book to his peers. But come on.
Con. But before you commence, I have one word of friendly admonition to give you, and that is this. Please to do yourself the favor in your humble servant the justice to read this book through carefully, examine every subject thoroughly, scrutinize every position rigidly, measure every sentence critically, weigh every argument fairly, decide every point impartially, and act upon the whole matter honestly.
And he told these people, these Edomites, to act upon this matter honestly. Why? Because this information of knowing who these Israelites are is very important. Because when you read the Bible, he's going to show you, but these heathen know that if you find out what the 10 tribes of Israel is, then you will know where the deliverance of the Israelites will come from. Because they say the Son of God will come and deliver these people. And this how you know these devils know this information. And this is why they had the Apocrypha removed. And the Protestant church had made this so, because this type of information right here was a big deal. But come on, keep going.
And then think as you please. The author claims the originality of the whole book of this little book, whole
All
work of
right.
this little book.
So now let me zoom out. We're gonna zoom out. All right. So now, give me a second. I want to show where I want to start at. This is Satan. Hold on. This John want to jump the gun on me today. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do it like this, King. All right, so now, boom, we back where we need to be. So this is the Great Mystery Explained. This book is called The Great Mystery Explained. So now we're gonna read this verse. This is Second Ezra chapter 13 and 39. Can you read that?
Con, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, there are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Osea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Syria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land.
Right. So now, and it's also proven is this for anybody that's new. Second Ezra chapter 13, verse 39, all the way down to 50, explains how the northern kingdom of Israel came to the shores of the continent of America. This is how they came here. But also, what I'm showing tonight is showing you how our enemy, our top enemy, when you read the book of Psalms, chapter 83, these are the people who study our records thoroughly. And not only did they study our records thoroughly, but they had their peers, you know what I'm saying, write books and spread them throughout their community to do what? Educate the people who don't know. Educate the ones that don't know, but also realizing, hey, these people that we're about to conquer, we're about to colonize, we're about to overthrow, we're about to poison with chicken pox, right? All these things, these people are God's chosen people. But watch this, keep going.
Con, but they took this counsel amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country,
Right,
where never mankind
right.
dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own
So
land.
stop right there real quick, King. You don't got to put it on the screen, but give me the book of Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse number 20. Because a lot of times, a lot of people like to say that all the Israelites that was on this side of the world were wicked. They like to say that they were wicked. Everybody was eating human flesh. Everybody was having sex with whoever they want to have sex with. And when you know what I'm saying, oh, everybody was idolaters. But we're gonna show you through the Bible that there were certain tribes over here that did hold themselves to certain some type of dignity and honor to their extent. Because when these Edomites came over here, guess what they saw? They saw these people keeping the commandments. So watch this, read this.
33 and 20.
Yes, sir.
Con, this is the book of Deuteronomy 33 and 20. And of Gad, he said, blessed be he that enlargeth Gad.
Right?
He dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head.
Come on.
And he provided the first part for himself.
Right. So when you think about the North America, right? North America, Gad divided that for himself. Watch this.
Because there, in a portion of the lawgiver, was he seated?
So in this land, the Gadites were seated as the lawgivers in this side of the world in Osiris. They was the ones that taught the 12 tribes, or I should say the 10 tribes, the laws, statutes, and commandments, and executed judgment, you know what I'm saying, according to the scriptures and the law of Moses in the land of Osiris. This is why when you read what we just read, that they made a covenant amongst themselves or a council amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go into another country that they might there keep statutes which they never kept in their land. So that part was true, because a lot of people say that was a lie. No, when you glue into these records we about to show, it's going to show that indeed the northern kingdom of Israel, majority of them, chiefly Gad and Reuben, some of those tribes that descended from those two tribes kept the commandments of God. That's it on that. Finish that verse off.
I want to keep going. I'm gonna keep going to the end. It's some more. It says, and he came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of the Lord in his judgments with Israel.
And this is letting you know that Gad is the one that brought the heads of the people together and made sure to the best of his ability that what judgment and the laws of God was executed throughout the land of Osiris. So now let's go back over here. So now, you know what I'm saying, just read 45. You just read 45, and then, you know what I'm saying, we'll jump down to the part where he makes his remarks. Because, you know, if you haven't read 2nd Ezra 13, hey, read it. It's a good book. Most high willing, we might break it down soon. Come on.
Verse 40.
Hold on.
Go.
All right, there we go.
Verse 45. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, in the same region is called Assyria.
Watch this next verse.
Then dwelt they there until the latter time.
Right. So this author is reading this, and he knows and understands that the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell in the land of Osiris until the latter times, which is the last days. Come on, read.
And now, when they shall begin to come, the highest will stay the springs of the stream again, that they may go through. Therefore sawest thou the multitude with peace.
Right. So now jump down to the remarks. Let's deal with the remarks.
Remarks. First, the 10 tribes of Israel were to go to a land that never was known. And at that time, there was no country which was not known excepting the continent of America.
Right.
Where undoubtedly at that time, no mankind had dwelt.
Mm-hmm.
According to the Bible, the Israelites did not keep their laws and statutes in their own land.
All right. So now read this. Can you see that?
When it says in the above mentioned, in the above mentioned year and a half, the 10 tribes of Israel crossed over to the northwest part of the continent of America, and then they went on southward and settled down upon all the islands of the sea.
Right. So now what is this also proven to you? When you read the book of Isaiah chapter 11, Isaiah, you know what I'm saying, 11 goes into the same thing that 2nd Ezra is talking about, where it talks about the high springs and the streams. You know what I'm saying? We'll get that at another time. But he's also showing you that Israelites will be throughout all the islands of the sea. Come on.
And also upon the whole continent of North and South America.
Right.
As far as the South Pole in Central America.
Right. Come on.
They lived in great cities and also in Mexico. For when they first came over there, they were altogether
read it right.
civilized.
Hold on, read it over. Read it right, King.
God. They lived in great cities and also in Mexico. For when they first came over, they were altogether civilized.
Right. So when they first came to this land and to this country, the Bible is letting you know, and this scholar is letting you know, because guess what? They was over here studying them. When they first came to this part of the world, they were civilized and in order. Watch this.
And they had great temples and high priests the same as the Israelites had in times of
And
old.
this lets you know as well that not all the Levites stayed over here on this side south with the southern kingdom. They had high priests and Levites that went with them as well. Watch this.
Fourth, the mounds that are found all over the continent of America, they were the high places on which they offered sacrifices unto the Great Spirit.
Watch this. The fifth one.
But that they offered human sacrifices, as tradition said, this I very much doubt.
Right. So
Seeing
now
as
who set that tradition in place? When Christopher Columbus, when Americo Vespucci, right, in these recent books that we brought out, right? These were the people that said, oh, these savage, these merciless monsters, hey, these people are eating people. Oh, they the ones we need to make slaves of, right? These people are eating each other. But this man is saying, no, not all the tribes was getting down like that, right? Watch this. He gonna tell you what they was doing. Read.
being as I believe that none of the red man of the north and of the east ever offered any such sacrifices.
Now, who is he talking about? He's talking about Gad and Reuben. So he's saying, when I'm observing Gad and Reuben, I ain't never seen not one day anybody amongst them eating no humans or sacrificing in no such way. Watch this.
Fifth, the way that the 10 tribes of Israel have been scattered all over this whole continent,
Right, you can read a little faster, bro.
it was through their continental wars.
Right, stop right there. Now watch this. It said, read that from the fifth again.
It says the way that the 10 tribes of Israel have been scattered all over this whole continent.
Yep.
It was through their continental wars.
It was through their continental wars, right? It was through the continental wars. And hey, real quick before we keep going, hey, we're gonna give a shout out to Ancient Apparel for our collar shirts, man. Ancient Apparel hooked us up with these shirts for anybody that's wondering, man. Shout out to the House of Yakal Salah. All praise to the Most High. But getting back to this, it's letting you know that the way that the 10 tribes of Israel was scattered in the land of Osiris was because wars amongst themselves. You had all this land, but what? In this land, we were still envying and eyeing each other and gooding for war. This is where the Beaver War came from. And when you think about what we went into last week, this is how a lot of the wars happened over here. They was going to war over each other over turf, over possessions. And when the so-called white man came over here, they started backdooring their brothers, getting them kicked out of their villages, burning their villages up. Because what? Because they wanted more resources. They wanted more money for their own households and for their own tribes. But keep reading on that, King.
Gone through their continental wars, which they kept up amongst themselves,
right.
And thus they became scattered all over the whole continent.
Right, and now that's how we had Israelites in North America, throughout Florida, Georgia, California, Texas, Pennsylvania. This is how on the islands, the Caribbean islands, this is how we got scattered in all these different places. Right, come on.
And then they became uncivilized, but they still kept up wars among themselves, one tribe fighting against the other until they became a most wretched people above all other people upon the face of the earth.
Right.
As it was prophesied by Moses that the curse should follow them.
Right. So now, what curse he said, what curse did Moses tell the Israelites will follow them? We're going to get to that. But now, for the sake of time, let's jump to the 6th point.
6th point.
Hold on. I just got to zoom it in like that, King. So this jump don't wham bam on me again.
I got you. Con. 6th point says, the Eastern red men have a tradition which said that all the Eastern red men first came from the far west.
Right.
And then they scattered all over the whole southeast and over the whole east and also over the whole northeast countries.
Right.
The red men of America, they have the same national pride that the old Israelites had.
Watch this.
They are terrible in war.
Stop right there. They are terrible in war. We're just gonna show a quick examples real quick, because in these the war stories that we're gonna show videos and show the books on, that Esau tell you how these folks got down themselves. you will see that Gad and Reuben were nobody to play with. Hey, real quick, Ken, get the book of First Chronicles, chapter 12, and I think verse number 7, real quick. When you get it, just read it. We want to show y'all that these Edomites have been studying our people for years and years. And this is why they never destroyed the Bible. If you ever want to know why your enemy never destroyed your history book, it's because they were addicted with knowing what would happen. And they're also addicted with trying to rewrite history. And why would you destroy something that tells you where your enemy is coming from? When you think about Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, those our God and our Father and our King is enemies to these heathen. So why would they destroy all the sources that teaches them what to expect and what to come and what to do to us? You know what I'm saying? And if they do destroy that, now you don't know where your enemy coming, or you don't know the signs and what to look for. So the same way the Israelites study the Bible, we guide ourselves with the scriptures. Our enemy do the same thing. But come on, read that real quick.
Time. Read verse 8, and it says, "And of the Gadites there separate themselves unto David and to the hold, to the wilderness men of might, and the men of war fit for the battle."
He said there were men what?
And men of war fit for the battle.
Watch this.
That could handle shield and buckler, whose faces were like the face of lions, and were as swift as the roes upon the mountains.
And they were swift as roes upon the mountains. Now, all right, let's go back to the point. Let's go back over here, right? Come on. And that same highlighted part at the bottom.
Got you. I got you. The same highlight part. Okay.
Yep.
It says, "The red men of America, they have the same national pride that the old Israelites had. They are terrible in war. They begin the battle with a shout, and the old Israelites begin the battle with blowing the trumpet and with a shout. The red men take a delight in torturing their prisoners, whom they conquer in war. The old Israelites did the same, for King David was a righteous man. But in the
second book of Samuel, chapter 12 and 31,
we read thus, and he brought forth the people that were therein, and put them under saws, and under harrows of iron, and under axes of iron, and made them pass through the brick kilns, and thus did he unto all the cities of the children of Ammon."
Right. So now he's just letting you know that the same way that the ancient Israelites handled war and executed and demolished our enemies, right? These red men, these so-called red men, which would be Gadites and Reubenites, he said them brothers got down the same way. Now read the next highlighted part. We got to get through this.
Eighth point. "The red men of America are the most truly righteous people which are upon the earth. At this time, their children honor their parents. They do not lie. They do not swear.
Right.
They do not steal.
Right.
There is no fornication amongst them."
He said there is no fornication amongst them. Come on.
"They are permitted to divorce their wives, but they generally live with them through life. In that case, they are not like the old Pharisees, who made a practice of divorcing their wives. The red men do keep the 10 commandments in every respect, as they were delivered unto Moses from God. They do not covet, they do not lie, they do not swear, nor steal, nor use the name of God in vain."
All right, so now I'm gonna read a quick precept real quick to prove what this man just said. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 3 and verse number 31. It says, "I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Zion? Or is there any people that know of thee beside Israel? Or what generation have so believed thy covenants as Jacob? And yet their reward appeareth not, and their labor hath no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth and think not upon thy commandments." Right? "Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world, and so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? thou shalt find that Israel by name had kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. So this how this man also knew without a shadow of a doubt that the men that he was studying and observing, he knew that these men were the Israelites, because when you look throughout the world, there is no other people in the world that take keeping God's commandments serious like the Israelites. Just like you see in the world today. When you look throughout Babylon the Great, or now when you look throughout the four corners of the earth, you're able to find out who the Israelites are, because why? You're going to always see them wearing fringes, right? You're going to see them in order. You're going to see them, if you see them outside on the street corner, you're going to see them bringing out the Bible and bringing out the commandments of God. So this is how the enemy, even in modern day terms, this is how Esau in America today knows who the Israelites are. They see what you post on your pictures, and it's like it's sending an alert straight to their database. Oh, we got a new Israelite. Oh, somebody just took a picture and quoted with some fringes on. Oh, we got a new Israelite. When you stand on the street corner, you see them cameras on the end of every street. Guess what? In that database, they seeing us on the street corner. They see 10, 12, 20 brothers with fringes on. Yo, there goes some Israelites, and they taking a picture, running your face. Oh, he an Israelite too. He marked, right? And guess what? This is the same thing that they was doing back then while we was in slavery. Watch this. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse number 6. And it reads, I'm going to start at verse 5. It says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do so in the land, whether you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath a God so nigh unto them, as the Lord our God is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that have statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day? So now when you look at what this Dr. Daniel is bringing out, he's letting you know that the Gadites and the Reubenites are fulfilling this prophecy that Moses put in Deuteronomy chapter 4. They are the ones that's fitting the description of the men that's keeping the commandments when you read the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 3. So when we read this, we are showing you that when Esau and them had raised these wars amongst the Israelites, they knew exactly who they was going to war with. They knew they weren't going to war with Choctaw, Chickasaw, Blackfoot, Seminole, Arawak, Taino, Aztec, Mayan. They knew they was going to war against the biblical Israelites, right? You got a point? You want to bring out a precept or anything before I keep going, King?
You keep going.
All right. So now let's go. Let me see if I got anything else on that. Nope, that's it. So now we're going to go into the next thing, right? We're going to go into the next book. Let me get up out of here. Let's go back. So now let's go back. Give me a second. All right. So now what we are going into, we are showing you how when you go into these wars that we about to dive into, these people can't lie and act ignorant like they didn't know who they was going to war against, right? They can't act like, oh, hey, they were Native Americans, they were Taino. No, they knew these were Israelites. But the thing that they also knew and understood, that when you read the book of Moses, this is why this man said, when you read the book of Deuteronomy, it was known and evident that the Israelites would be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And when you look at what we're going into now, let's get the book of Deuteronomy, King, chapter 28, verse 49. So let's show you how when Gad, Reuben, and all the other northern kingdoms saw these people on their land, some of them already kind of knew what time it was, but some of them were so wicked and unbelieving that they couldn't stop the prophecy. So now let's get that, King. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. So let's show you how everything this Dr. Daniel just brought out, this man knew that from studying the Bible. This man knew that from studying our history. So read that.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
Right.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Right. So we understand through the prophecies of the scriptures that this is talking about Esau, right? This is talking about when the Roman Empire was going to come upon the Israelites over there in Jerusalem, but also this is talking about when Esau was going to come up on the northern kingdom as well. Come on.
A nation of fierce countenance will shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
So even when you think about when they came over here on this side of the world and they seen the opportunity to expand, they didn't regard the old elderly senior citizens of the Tainos, of the Mayans, of the Aztecs, or the Blackfoot, of the Cherokee, or the Choctaw, or the Iroquois, or the Reubenite. They didn't care about that. If you were in the way and you was in a land that brought them much resources, they were either gonna kill you or make you leave the scene. Let's get the book of Luke chapter 21 and verse number 20. Let's get the book of Luke chapter 21 and verse number 20.
Luke chapter 21.
And verse number 20. So what we're showing you is that everything that happened to the Gadites and the Reubenites was prophesied to happen in the Bible. These wars that we're about to go into tonight, these wars were prophesied to happen in the Bible. Come on.
Luke 21 and 20.
Come on.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
Right. So the same time, this happened first to the southern kingdom. They was the ones that was getting hit up first. Come on.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
Right. This is how, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, Salakia, fled into Africa. Right. Come on.
And let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto.
Come on.
For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled.
So these be the days of vengeance, right? So these things, everything that we're reading about, right? Even the Spanish conquistadors coming to America, making these wars with the northern kingdom, right? These things had to happen because Yahweh prophesied and told us that these will be the days of vengeance on the earth. After he left the scene, this will begin the days of vengeance to the whole 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. So now, after that, let's jump down to verse 24.
Verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations.
Right. What chief nations were the southern kingdom gonna be led away as slaves into? The same country and continent and nation that their brothers were gonna be colonized and overthrown in. Come on.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Now watch this. Jump to verse 27.
Verse 27. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory.
Come on.
And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh.
And who is Yahweh talking to right there, man? He's talking to us. Get the book of Psalms chapter 17 and verse number 9, King. Who is the Lord talking to right there, man? He's talking to us. We are the ones that's witnessing and have seen all these signs take place. So we should be the ones looking up and preparing for our salvation to come from the sky, right? Come on, read that.
Psalm 17, 9.
8.
7 and 8. Keep me as the apple of thine eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings. From the wicked that oppress me.
Come on.
From my deadly enemies who compass me about.
Come on.
They are enclosed in their own fat. With their mouth they speak proudly.
Right.
They have now compassed us in our steps.
Come on.
They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth.
They have did what?
They have set their eyes bowing down to the earth.
Come on.
Like as a lion that is greedy of his prey.
So as we're going to read tonight, it says these wicked people that was going to come upon us as a lion that is greedy of his prey. Watch this.
And as it were a young lion lurking in secret places.
Come on.
Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword.
Come on.
For men which are thy hand.
So the men that the Lord will use to destroy and overthrow, colonize, enslave, and rebrand the Israelites, the Bible signifies this man as the wicked. Come on.
From men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world, which have their portion in this life, in whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure.
Come on.
They are full of children.
And these people that was going to come upon us, they were going to become full of children and do what?
And leave the rest of their substance to their babes.
And they were going to leave the rest of their substance to their babes. And what we're going to read about today, we're going to show you how they had made war against us and took us and brought us to our demise. And now everything that we see in the world today, right? The festival and the wicked holiday that's going to be celebrated this Thursday, guess what? They left these things to their wicked children. So now, all right, King, you can stop sharing now. I'm gonna go and jump in there.
Okay.
All right. So now let me go and get this on there. All right. So now we're gonna go and get. Oh, I gotta do it this way. I forgot. Select you. All right. So now we're gonna pull this video up. We're gonna pull this first video up, and this is for fair use only. This is for fair use, educational purposes only. You can see the video, King.
All
right.
Before the War of 1812. Before the Trail of Tears, there was a war that shaped the future of America, but hardly.
Right. So first and foremost, before we start this first war that we're going to go into, because what did we do? We showed you through Dr. Daniel H. Lawrence that, hey, at one point in time during the 1800s, the Spaniards, the British, the Dutch, the Portuguese, all these Edomite or the Europeans knew that the people that ran this land and lived on this land first were Israelites, but that did not stop them from what they were trying to do. So now what's going on here, right? We have a war taking place, and hey, as we see now, the 13 colonies won their independence from the British. So now, hey, we're going to find out what does this have to do with the northern kingdom of Israel? Right. But keep in mind also, as we're looking at this, that not only this has something to do with Israel, but this has something to do with this whole continent and how this would change. Now, watch this.
Anyone remembers it today. The Northwest Indian War, a bloody, decade-long conflict, saw native tribes unite to defend their homelands against the expansion of a young and hungry United States. It was a clash of cultures, empires, and survival. In 1783, the American Revolutionary War ended. The British ceded a vast chunk of land to the new United States, land that was already home to dozens of native nations.
Stop right there. So now when you look at this, right, why is this important to know? What started this war called the Northwest Indian War? And when you look at it, right, when you look at what happened, are we going to show you, right? So what took place is, right, after the American Revolutionary War, let's go deal with this, right? So now we have to, because we got the books for you, we have to tap in and see what took place during the Northwest Indian War that caused the Edomites to go to war with the Israelites, right? So let's deal with it. So now let's go here. Let's deal with it. And again, we're going back into this other book that I have, and this book is called American Indian Wars, a history from the beginning to the end. Right? Can you see the screen, King?
right.
All right, so if you can you read that? So we're not going to read all of this again, because if you was here with us from the jump last week, we kind of went through this war, but now we kind of doing a recap to show you how this next war that we going into, how this war took place. So now I'm just going to show you what to read it. Just read the first paragraph.
First paragraph.
We're going to jump down. Yes, sir.
In the 1760s, there was growing discontent in the 13 British colonies in America. One of the causes of this unrest was the passing of the Stamp Act in 1765, which imposed taxes on many products produced in the colonies.
Come on.
Colonists objected that they were being required to pay taxes to a government in which they had no elected representatives. The slogan, "No taxation without representation," became a rallying call for those who sought a measure of independence from Great Britain.
Come on.
As the independence movement gained support, Native
Right. As the
Americans,
independence movement gained support, who is this talking about? This is talking about who we know today as America. They at this time were called the independent movement, right? Come on.
Native Americans in the areas controlled by the 13 colonies were also forced to make a choice. Would they support Great Britain or the patriots of the independence movement?
Right.
For many, the choice was simple. In the Royal Proclamation of 1763, the British government had provided assurances to Native Americans by limiting colonial expansion beyond the Appalachian Mountains. The colonists themselves recognized no such limit and seemed to have a limitless appetite for expansion.
So stop right there. So the first thing wrong that the Gadites did, right? They made a promise and a covenant and trusted in their enemies who told them, hey, if y'all ride with us and y'all help us, hey, we got you. We'll make sure that y'all land don't get expanded or colonized on, and y'all don't get kicked off y'all land. But it said that what? The colonists themselves, which would be America, it said they ain't say nothing like that. That wasn't nowhere in their mind. They weren't even gonna make that kind of deal. Watch this. And it said that they had a limitless appetite for expansion. So let's read this out the Bible real quick. This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, and verse number 1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. And when the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. Who gave the Edomites this power to conquer and colonize this land? It was of the Most High, because why? This was the days of vengeance that Yahweh told us about. Let's keep reading. It says, and they covet fields and take them by violence. So when you think about what's happening here, why did the American Revolutionary War take place? Because they wanted independence and freedom from British, right? And who? British had land over here, the French had lands over here, the Dutch had land over here. But at this point, they wanted the lands up north, Ohio, New York, this area. This is where all this is going. This is where this conflict is taking place from. So it says, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So this is the mentality that the colonizers had at this time. They were willing to take away the lands from the Northern Kingdom, right? And it said they had a limitless appetite, letting you know what they wanted, the whole thing. What my brother Ephraim said a while ago in the old video, who want a slice? I want the whole pie, right? This is what these brothers said right here, right? So keep going on that.
I had a precept too, King.
All right, go ahead.
This Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 5. They also, because he transgressive by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. And when you look at this, it said, neither keepeth at home. At this very moment, this wasn't even their homeland. It says the 13 colonies, these people were settlers that came and took this land from our native brothers or Northern Kingdom that was dwelling in this land.
Right.
Then not only that, you got the British colony. The British not even over here at this time, right? And they saying, hey man, if y'all fight for us, we gonna give blase, blase. They not even over here. That's why you have that slogan, no taxation without representation. They weren't even over here. They was calling shots on things that was going over here on this land. But that's the pride and the wickedness of the so-called white man. But I'm gonna keep reading. It says this, who enlarged his desire as hell and as death. So his desire is to enlarge it as hell, right? And it's as death. Because when you think about how they came across and the things they did in taking over this land, they brought nothing but death to our fellow brothers and sisters. And this is the crazy part. They was at war with amongst each other. That's why you have this whole independent war. You got the British going at it. You got the Patriots going at it, right? And while they're doing that, they're still oppressing and unaliving our Northern Kingdom brothers, the Gad and the Reubenites. But I yield on that.
Con. That's right, man. And when you look at it, bro, it's gonna get even stickier. So we're gonna do some jumping, right? So we're not gonna read all this. Read this next part. It says, because they regarded the British.
Because they regarded the British as less likely to take their lands, many Native American tribes initially chose to take the side of Great Britain. When the Declaration of Independence was issued In July 1776, it accused the British government of persuading merciless Indian savages to attack the colonists.
Right. So now we're gonna keep for this process of time, we're not gonna read all this because we did it already. But it's gonna let you know that the Gadites started to be divided because why? At this point, we didn't have faith in our Lord and Savior, right? And in the Most High, we had our trust in man, and we know what the Bible says about that. Cursed be those that put their trust in man, right? Pursuing to Jeremiah 17:5. But we can't read it right now for the sake of time. But what I want to show is during this time, I'm gonna read this bottom part, and I'm gonna let him read the next part. It says the Iroquois Confederation, which had been one of the most influential Native American groups, was completely split by the War of Independence. The majority of the Mohawks, the Cayugas, the Onondagas, and the Senecas sided with the British, while the Oneida, Tuscario, and several other New England tribes took the side of the revolutionaries. So now watch this. I want you to jump to the part where it said the majority of Native American tribes came right here.
The majority of Native American tribes in the north and east of America fought side of the British in the belief that this would help to stop or at least slow the expansion of the colonies into tribal lands.
Into tribal lands, right? Watch this. Come on.
Part of the reason for this was that the British had signed binding treaties with a number of tribes which guaranteed their homelands against colonial expansion.
Right.
The colonists had agreed to no such treaties.
So this is the second time that we're hearing that. The British made all these promises, but the colonizers, they had no such agreements in mind because they like, bro, we're not doing that, period. We don't want a slice. We want the whole pie, right? Come on.
However, when the war ended with the defeat of the British in 1783, Native Americans were not even mentioned in the subsequent Treaty of Paris.
Right. Watch this. Hold on, brother. Hold on, brother. Because now we got to deal with that, right? We got to deal with that now. So now let's look into this real quick. Let me pull this slide up so we don't got to take too much time. The Treaty of Paris. Let's deal with that real quick, right? We're going to get into this today. Come on. Let's read this real quick, King.
The Treaty of Paris signed by representatives of King George III of Great Britain and representatives of the United States on September 3rd, 1783, officially ended the War of American Independence and recognized the 13 colonies which had been part of the colonial British America to be free.
Right? Where's July 4th come from? Come on.
Sovereign and independent unified states.
Right? Come on.
The treaty set the boundaries between British North America, later called Canada, and the United States on lines the British labeled as exceedingly generous. Although exact boundary definitions in the far northwest and to the south continue to be subject to some controversy, details included fishing rights and restoration of property and prisoners of war.
All right, so now it said that, watch this. Now, when you go back over here, what did it say? Read that again.
It says, however, when the war ended with the defeat of the British in 1783, Native Americans were not even mentioned in the subsequent Treaty of Paris.
They said they weren't even brought up. Come on.
The British agreed to hand over the control of all territory east of the Mississippi,
right,
south of the Great Lakes, and in the north of Florida, despite the fact that it had already signed treaties with Native Americans promising some of this land to them.
So who was in Florida? Who was in the north? Who was in Mississippi? Who was in the Great Lakes, in the areas of the Great Lakes, which is the northeast up there, right? These were Reuben and Gad. So now it said that the British did what? It didn't even admonish or respect or even bring their name up in the Treaty of Paris. So now watch this, read the next highlighted part. So now we're going into how the Northwest American War started, because now promises got broken. And now when you think about these promises that got broken, for British to try to keep the peace with Esau, who will become now as America, they doing what? They giving the keys to everything at this time that they quote unquote thought they possessed. Watch this.
Instead, the British government abandoned its Native American allies and simply ignored all the treaties it had signed with them.
Right. So now we can't go past this without bringing up the Bible and showing you where our brothers, which will be my tribe, right, where we went wrong at. Right. Let me read this real quick. It says, Sirach chapter 12 and verse number 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou should not know that his wrath has not been altogether wiped away. It says, set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Right? He says, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come now wild beasts? Right? Let me get one more precept real quick. Let me get the book of Psalms chapter 55. Because within the Bible, it has always instructed us never to trust our enemies. Anytime the Israelites have trusted the enemies of those that hate them, we always have got the short end of the stick. Let me read this real quick. This is the book of Psalms chapter 55 and verse number 19. God shall hear and afflict them, even he that abideth of old, Salah, because they have no changes. Therefore they fear not God. He put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He have broken his covenant. Right. So when you look at these Edomites, no matter whether they British Edomites, Scottish Edomites, Ireland Edomites, it don't matter what type of European Edomites they are. The Bible tells you to never trust them, because at the end of the day, they will never honor their vows. And like the Bible tell you, I don't know if all of y'all finna get it or not, but they come out the womb telling lies. Right? They come straight out the womb lying. Right? Let me read that. I got it right here. The book of Psalms chapter 58 and verse number 3. It says, the wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent. They are like the deaf otter that stoppeth the ear. Right? You can go bring something out on that, King.
Connor, I was just wanted to say, when you think about it, this is not the first time that the Idumeans or the Edomites have done something of this manner. We look at the different covenants that our people placed with them. For instance, when you go back to the time of the Maccabees, right? Those different times of different covenants that the Maccabees placed with the Idumeans and things with the Grecians and the Romans, and seeing how they overthrew our people. These are the same people. So the same people that overthrew our people, right, during the time of the Maccabees, brothers. These are the same people that overthrew our Native American brothers of the Northern Kingdom, Gad and Reuben, right, with these faulty treaties, right, these lies, right, promises, these faulty promises that they're saying, hey, we got y'all. And this is the sick part. These people didn't even have this land to begin with. That's the crazy part that you really got to fathom. They promised to you something that they never even had in the first place. And when you think about it too, this is another instance that they have done this. For instance, if you go back to the previous videos that we went over, there are the same people promised the land of Israel to somebody else, and it wasn't even theirs to begin with. These same people, they repeat the same process, promising things that doesn't belong to them and giving them to somebody else.
That's right.
I just want to make that point.
Yeah, and you absolutely correct. This is how they always done. This is the second time that the British have backdoored somebody, right? Come on. So now we're gonna go back to this video. Did we finish that video? No, we didn't. All right, so now let's go back to the video. And again, it is fair use. So now we're showing you how the Northwest Indian War kicked off, because the British lost the war, and right, they didn't have no dignity or honor in themselves. They straight up lied to the Gadites and the Reubenites and gave free will all of their lands that they would inherit, and the promises of protection they gave it to the colonizers, which would be America. So now let's go back into this.
British ceded a vast chunk of land to the new United States, land that was already home to dozens of native nations. Tribes like the Shawnee, Miami, Lenape, and Wyandot had not surrendered their territory. And now, white settlers began pouring in, claiming farms, clearing forests, and building forts. In response, a coalition was formed, the Western Confederacy.
Right. So the Western Confederacy, we're going to touch on that just a little bit. All right. So now I'm going to read it for the sake of time. It says, the Northwestern Confederacy, or the Northwest Indian Confederacy, was a loose confederacy of Native Americans in the Great Lakes region. So where were the Great Lake regions? Because you remember in the book, The Indian Wars, it tells you that these were lands that the British promised that they would not let the colonizers come take over. So it says the Great Lakes region of Northern America is a binational Canadian American region centered on the Great Lakes that includes the United States of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and the Canadian province of Ontario. So these were the places that the Northern Kingdom were fighting for. It says the Great Lakes of the United States created after the American Revolutionary War. Formerly, the Confederacy referred to itself as the United Indian Nations at their Confederate Council. It was known infrequently as the Miami Confederacy, since many contemporaneous federal officials overestimated the influence and the numeric strength of the Miami tribes based on the size of their principal city, Cayuga. Right. So now let's go back to that. I just wanted to show you who the Northwestern Confederacy was. Watch this.
Like Little Turtle of the Miami, Blue Jacket of the Chiefs, like Little Turtle of the Miami, Blue Jacket of the Shawnee, and Buckanahalas of the Delaware, this alliance sought to defend their homelands at any cost.
Right. And so now let's make another comparison, right? Isn't it ironic when you think about the Israelites as a whole, right? You think about the Israelites, you have the Black Panther movement. I forgot the other Northern Kingdom movement, but now you have the Western Confederacy or the United Indian Nation, right? Every time it was always the Israelites who have to come up and grab themselves together and create a great council or community of leaders to fight against what? The oppression and the colonizers, right? And so this is why when you look at Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 33, it says Judah and Ephraim shall be oppressed together. This is why in this land over here and upon these curses that the Most High put upon us, we are the ones who have to come together and, you know what I'm saying, what's the word I'm looking for? Create activist movements, as they say, because we are the ones getting overthrown and getting overtaken and getting colonized as we see today. And as you see here on the screen, you see mighty men from each tribe still dressed up the same way like ancient Israelites, right? With the fringes going down their pants. You know, they AI this image right here, but this is a fire image right here, man, if I should say.
Their goal? Create a native barrier state, a land untouched by U.S. expansion. In 1790, President George Washington sent General Josiah Harmer to crush the Confederacy. But Little Turtle was ready. At the Battle of Cayuga, the U.S. forces were ambushed and destroyed. Harmer lost over 200 men. Still determined, Washington sent a larger force led by General Arthur St. Clair. On November 4, 1791, near the Wabash River, disaster struck again. The Western Confederacy annihilated St. Clair's army. Over 900 Americans died, making it the worst defeat ever suffered by the U.S. against native forces.
That's right.
Furious and humiliated, Washington called in his most ruthless general, Anthony "Mad" Wayne. Wayne spent 2 years training a new army, the Legion of the United States, disciplining them like the European armies. On August 20, 1794, Wayne met the native forces near the Maumee River in a place filled with storm-blown trees, fallen timbers. This time, the U.S. was ready. The Confederacy was defeated. Worse, they retreated to a nearby British fort, and the British refused to let them in. In 1795, the tribes had little choice. They signed the Treaty of Greenville, surrendering most of Ohio and Indiana to the U.S. It marked the beginning of massive land loss and the unraveling of the native barrier state dream. The Northwest Indian War was the first U.S. war after independence and set the tone for centuries of broken treaties and native resistance.
All right, I'm gonna
I had
finish.
some too.
Heroes like Little Turtle later advocated for peace, while others like Tecumseh rose in later decades to renew the struggle. But for a brief moment, Native nations stood united and almost won.
So it said, and they almost won. So real quick, I'm gonna read this off real quick, and I'm gonna pass it to you, brother. So this is the book of Leviticus, chapter 26, and I'm gonna start at verse 14. It says, "But if you will not hearken unto me, and will not do all these commandments, and if you shall despise my statutes, or if your soul abhor my judgments, so that ye will not do at all my commandments, but that ye break my covenant, I will also do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and the burning egg that shall consume the eyes and cause sorrow of the heart, and ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemies shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth you." So when you think about this, we fulfilled this prophecy during this time of the wars, right? From the American Independence War, a Revolutionary War, all the way to the Northwest Indian War. As you see, we started off raging war against them, and we was doing good. But what did Esau do? He sent Mad Anthony Wayne against us with the legions of America, the top warriors of America's tribe at the time, these devils. And these devils obliterated us, right? Which caused us to have to do the Treaty of Greensville, which also led to us what? Being pushed out of our lands. And like he just said, we had to suffer, major land loss, right? So just keep this in mind. This is how the Israelites got put in demise, because it said we broke the commandments of the Lord. And when you go back to what Dr. Lawrence said, Dr. Lawrence let you know that what? He saw the Israelites keeping God's commandments, but also in the process of time, as we were here, we had tribal wars amongst ourselves for envy, greed, and wickedness. And by doing so, we killing our brother, eating our brothers on one side of the fence, which led to what? Breaking the Lord's covenant, and the Lord sending the nation against us from far, as swift as the eagle flieth, right? Who should not regard the persons of old, nor show favor to the young. And this is the fulfillment of those things, right? And this is why now these festivals getting celebrated in the way that they do. But I yield on that, King. Go and bring your point.
Con. And just to add with that, the brother had brought out a precept. I'm going to get it right quick. He had brought a precept earlier. So I'm going to dive into this precept real quick. I'm going to revisit this precept that he had brought out earlier, right? In the book of Genesis, chapter 49. Right? It said, "A troop shall overcome them." So let's go to the Genesis chapter 49. And when you look at this story, right, with the American Legion Army that they sent against them, right? This is prophecy being fulfilled, and not just the American Legion Army, all the troops, because we about to get into a lot of battles that Gad and Reuben got into, right? So the Lord said, and the Lord prophesied, Lord had Jacob prophesied with what's going to happen to his children in the latter days. When you read up in verse 1, right, it says, I'm going to read verse 1 real fast. It says, "And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days." So when you align that with history that's going on, you understanding time-wise, we understand that we're living in the last days, right? So when we go into that, you start to see this says, "Gad, a troop shall overcome him." Right? Let's go to this and look how prophecy lines up together, even with the precepts that the brother just brought out, right? In Leviticus chapter 26. So you go into this, right? It says this, a troop. It says a band, a troop marauding band, raiding band, troop band of divisions of army. So they had this American Legion, right, which was a division of the American Army that came, right, and overtook the Western Confederate, that Western group they had. Right now, let's go back, right, their Western Alliance they had, right. So he overtook the rest of the alliance. And let's read this again. It says, and gather troops shall overcome him, but he shall overcome in the last. But eventually, in the time to come, right, Gad will overcome. But we see where in history time period that Gad was overcome by a troop. Now I'm gonna get this other precept in
And
Deuteronomy
then after
28.
Salaki, when you get done with that, go over the Treaty of Greenville. I'm finna look into the next article. If you after you do your precept, just touch on the Treaty of Greenville, because that's the treaty that they had to commit to Esau after they lost that war.
I got you.
Water.
So now we go to Deuteronomy 28 verse 15. It says, and the Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thy enemies. So when you actually go in and think about, hold on, make sure that y'all seeing what I, matter of fact, Salaki, y'all thought I had my screen sharing, but I got y'all. Right. So when you think about the first book the brother brought out, it said that the same curses that would be on the Israelites was on what? The Native Americans, the Gad and the Reubenites, right? So when we look at the curses, the same curses that it was talking about in that first book the brother had brought out, right? We're looking at the curses and identifying and matching them up to how they align with the Gadites and the Reubenites, right? So it says, and the Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thy enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So when we look at what happened to them, and you look at what happened, how the so-called white man came, right, and basically slaughtered the northern kingdom on a very massive scale, to where now they was conformed to these small reservations. And when you also remember some of the lessons that we went into prior, where you see that not only did the Native Americans was slaughtered, but they also was enslaved as well. And if you knew go to history, they also shipped them to different parts of the world as well. So when we go into the curses and saying that these people are our people or are the Israelites, you see the same curse that we say that we was under, they was under at the same time. They was getting smitten by the enemies, right? They was fleeing this way and that way, right? So let me get the Treaty of Greenville real quick, right? Let's get into that. Treaty of Greenville. Let's get into that. So there's a lot of things, right, that goes down. We go into the history, and you see how our forefathers, our brothers and sisters, they call hell, right? But it always comes back to this. It comes back to us not keeping the commandments, right? Like the brother brought out, they were at some point in time, right, keeping the commandment. Yes, they were. But eventually, just like how our forefathers know, it's nothing new on the sun. They'll start out keeping the commandments, right? And then they'll do what? Return to wickedness, just like in the time of Judges, right? You have a judge come into place. Our people be keeping the commandments for some time, and then they'll resort back to wickedness. Same thing. And one of the wickedness that our people was doing was what? They was unaliving each other for greed, right? To make treaties with the so-called white man. Because you had some of them, like you said, some of them had confederacies with the revolutionaries. Some of them had some with Great Britain. So when you look at these, we understand also why they went through the things they went through, because initially it comes back to them breaking the laws of God. So let's get into the Treaty of Greenville, right? The Treaty of Greenville. Let's go into this. And when you look at it, this is going into what the brother was just bringing out in the video, right? It says Treaty of Greenville, August 3rd, 1795, settlement that concluded hostilities between the United States and an Indian confederation headed by Miami Chief Little Turtle, by which the Indians ceded most of the future state of Ohio and significant portions of what would become the states of Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan. Right? It says as American settlers moved into the Northwest Territory in the years following the American Revolution, their advance was opposed by a loose alliance of mainly Algonquian speaking peoples, the Shawnee and the Delaware, both of whom had been driven west by prior territorial encroachments. So we see there's a history of our people getting pushed to this land, to that land, to this land, to that land. So now you have different confederations hopping together or linking up, right? This says they was these people, the Shawnee people, the Delaware people, right? They was driven westward, but now you have them. They was aligning together, right? The way that's called the Algonquian speaking people, right? They spoke the same language. Let's keep going, but they was in different tribes. Joined the Ottawa, the Ojibwa, Miami, and the Potawatomi in the Northwest Indian Confederation, led by Little Turtle. The Native American Federation skirmished with settlers and Kentucky militia in the late 1780s in an effort to pacify the region and to stake a conclusive claim to areas that had been ceded by British under the terms of the Peace of Paris. So when you look at how history lines up, so you had America going back and forth at one point in time. They going back and forth with the British. They going back and forth with the Native Americans. But once they got the British out of the land, right? Which you have the peace of Paris. Once they got the British out the land, now they said now it's time to stake our claim. Now this land belongs to us. So now we finna go to head, toe to toe with these people to stake claim over this land. Right? It says a series of expeditions were dispatched to the Northwest Territory. The first under General Josiah Hamar was routed in pair of engagements in October 1790. So immediately after the Declaration of Independence was signed, the Peace of Paris was signed. Immediately after they got to war, after with British, they got to war with Native Americans. So now they mission ready to take over the land, which was they want to do in the first place. Right.
Yeah, that's good with that right there. So because now we're gonna go into this next part of it, right? We're gonna go and knock this next part out. And like you see, hey man, we giving y'all brothers and sisters great detailed information on how these wars took place in the process of time, back to back. You know what I'm saying? We're not showing y'all wars that happened thousands of years later. All this stuff happened sequentially at the same time. But guess what? Guess where the Southern Kingdom was when all this was taking place? The Southern Kingdom was out here picking cotton, getting killed, running away, and getting oppressed, and running to Seminole bases to be protected. So now we're gonna go into this. Can you read that, King?
Con.
The topic, the title.
Yeah. American Indian Wars: A History from the Beginning to End. Native American History. Chapter 4: The War of 1812. The only way to stop this evil is for all the red men to unite in claiming a common and equal right in the land as it was at first and should be now, for it never was divided but belongs to all. Sell a country. Why not sell the air, the clouds, and the great sea, as well as the earth? Chief Tuckmush.
Tecumseh. Yep. So now we're going into the war that started, another war that transpired in 1812, because we read about so far the American Revolutionary War, the Northwest American War, the Northwest Indian War, and now this is going into the war that took place after that, right? Because after all that took place, right, what happened? These Edomites start moving into these territories, like you seen at the end of that video. Yep. You say what? Say that again.
Yeah, you was buffering. What? You was buffering. You had went out. Go back.
Can you hear me now? All right, come. All right, so lucky about that. So now what we are going into again, I'm gonna repeat it. So what we're going into the War of 1812. This war transpired after the Northwest Indian War. So after the Northwest Indian War, and when we just saw that video, you had those two chiefs. I mean, two chiefs. You had Chief Turtle, and then you had Chief I can't pronounce his name, Chief Tenquaswata, right? And these two brothers was different. One chief was trying to keep the peace, and one chief was trying to create a revolutionary, saying we shouldn't allow these people to come in and take over our lands like this. So now, if you can you read the highlighted part in the beginning?
Khan, in the early years of the 19th century, white settlers continued to cross the Appalachian Mountains and to create homes on lands that had previously belonged to Native American tribes. In the Great
Right.
Lake region, a new Native American religious and political leader emerged, Chief Tenswatwatwa, the prophet
Chief
of the
T.
Shawnee tribe.
We're just gonna say Chief T, right?
Chief
Chief
Khan.
T, right? So now, if you keep in mind, brothers and sisters, we showed y'all where the Great Lakes region was, and if you've been paying attention, that's in the Northwest region of America. And when you look at what's going on here, so this is letting you know in the process of time, after we lost the Northwest Indian War, there were still Indians amongst in this area who was seeing these Edomites come in and expand on our homeland, right? And this what led Chief T to emerge as a political leader for the Gadites. So now, real quick, let me read something real quick. And this is why he rose up. This is the book of Job, chapter 24, and verse number 1. It says, why seeing times are not hidden from the Almighty? Do they that know him not see his days? Some remove the landmarks. So what was taking place here? You had the colonizer removing the landmarks from the Native Americans, pushing them out of their lands, and now they're building their own new homes on this land. And how are they building these new homes on their land? By their slaves. So the Gadites are watching their fellow kinsmen, the Judites, the Benjamites, and some Levites out there building on their land, right? So watch this. It says, some remove the landmarks, they violently take away flocks and feed thereof. So they took our buffaloes, they were taking our resources, knocking down our vegetation plants, right? Our vegetation fields and our gardens, and they eating it up for themselves, and they basically setting up life for themselves, not caring if we eat or survive. So now let me keep going. They drive away the ass of the fatherless. They take the widow's ox for a pledge. They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth hide themselves. And it says, I'm going to jump down. Verse 7, they cause the naked to lodge without clothing, that have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains and embrace the rock for want of a shelter. They pluck the fatherless from the breast and take a pledge of the poor. They cause him to go naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaf from the hungry, right? And in verse 12 says, men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded cry out. So now what we are reading, guys, we are reading about Chief T, the prophet, crying out. He was of the Shawnee tribe, but keep going on that. So now we're reading about these brothers groaning, and now you have the brother Chief T crying out to the people. So let's keep going.
Khan, Chief T urged his followers to reject the ways of the white man.
Right. So now where they Salaki, my bad, bro. You know how I like to do it, bro. We pulling precept. Where did Chief T get this from? Read that part again.
Khan, Chief T urged his followers to reject the ways of the white man.
So now this is the same thing that the modern day Israelites is doing in Babylon the Great. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 3 and verse 31. It says, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. For the froward is abomination to the Lord, but his secret is with the righteous, right? Watch this. So what is he telling us? The same way that Chief T told his people to choose none of the ways of the white man, this is what we telling our people today. This Thursday, don't choose the ways of the white man, because this festival that the white man is about to put together on Thursday, this is not a celebration for all of us to be thankful, right? To cut the turkey in half, to eat the abominable pork and pray and hey, tell everybody what we thankful for, what we got this year. This whole festival and this holiday was based around the bloodshed of the natives, our brothers. And also during this time, hey, he was telling them, hey, don't fall victim to this abominable thing that these people do. And he's about to show you the characteristics of what they were seeing these Edomites or these white men doing. Come on.
Especially the consumption of alcohol and to return to their traditional way of life. He claimed to have experienced several visions which told him that by doing this, it would be possible to resist white settlement of Native American lands.
Right. So he said he saw a vision that told him if his people resisted the way of these white people, that they may be able to save their lands. Right. But the heartbreaking thing behind this is there was nothing he could do because this was promised and prophesied by the prophet Moses. And Yahushua, before he left the earth, he co-signed it and stamped it and let us know when he left the earth, then will begin the days of vengeance on the earth. Right? Come on.
In 1808, Chief T and his elder brother Tecumseh established a community near the confluence of the Tippecanoe and the Wabash rivers near Lafayette in present-day Indiana. This community, which became known as Prophetstown,
is what?
Prophetstown.
Now, why was this called Prophetstown? Because he said he was receiving visions, and now it's saying he said, "Don't follow the ways of the white man, follow the ways of our ancestors, which was the traditional way of life." And what we just showed you in different books, what was that? That was the keeping of the commandments. Keep going, King.
Attracted disaffected Native Americans from the number of tribes and soon grew to be the largest Native American community in the Great Lakes region. I just want to just make a point real fast, though. Just pay attention when it said the disaffected tribes, because you got to understand, again, there were a lot of tribes that was removed from their home from the regions prior to, like the brother stated earlier. So just keep that in mind. But Tecumseh emerged as a leader of the confederation of several thousand warriors from a range of tribes.
And when it says from a range of tribes, what tribes is it referring to? It's referring to the Gadites, different tribes of the Gadites and different tribes of the Reubenites. Right? Come on.
Concerned at the growth of this community, the governor of Indiana Territory, William Henry Harrison, gathered a force of around 1,000 men, and in November 1811, he and his men camped close to the Tippecanoe River.
Right. So stop right there real quick, Salakia. So now think about what's going on now. So now these white men who is encamped around the prophet's town, they're seeing them gather together a large number of warriors, thousands of warriors, to do what? Stand up and fight for their people, fight for their homelands, and do what? Stop learning the ways of these white men. What were these white men doing on these new lands that they had just conquered? He showed you. They were getting drunk off alcohol and doing God knows what. And when you look throughout Babylon the Great, we know what Esau do when they get too full of their alcohol. They women want to walk up on you, just met you and make out with you. The men want to pop men, you know what I'm saying? They want to pop animals, right? He was telling our people not to do that. So now when these heathens see us coming together, this man gathered 1,000 troops and went into Tippecanoe River. But watch, let me give another precept real quick. This is what happens, and this is what happens within the heathen when we gather together in strong numbers. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 2, and verse number 1. It says, "Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed ones." Right? And this is what they doing. They take up counsels and they rage war against the Lord and his anointed ones. But keep going, King.
It says Harrison sent emissaries to Prophetstown and agreed to meet with Chief T on the morning of November 7. Tecumseh was absent, gathering more followers in another area. However, early in the morning, Chief T sent a large force of warriors to attack the white men.
Stop right there. So now ask yourself this question, brothers and sisters. Why did Chief T decide instead of meeting with these devils, but instead of meeting with them to discuss ways of peace or another treaty, he sent men to attack them? Because for one, he learned his lessons from his elders, from his followers. When they trust in the British, what happened? When the British lost their war, they disregarded all those treaties. When the British lost their war, they disregarded that they promised them that their lands wouldn't get took. When they lost their war, the Northwest Indian War, what happened? They had the Treaty of Greenville. Do you think the Esau honored those treaties that they promised them then? No. So now when this William Harrison gathered these troops and he wanted to come talk to Chief T, Chief T said, I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna talk to you. And he sent men to wage war against these men. Come on.
God, Harrison's men withstood waves of attack for more than 2 hours, by which time the Native American warriors were running short of ammunition. Chief T's men was forced to withdraw, and Harrison's troops were able to occupy and destroy Prophetstown.
And they was able to destroy Prophetstown, right? They was able to destroy our town. Watch this. Now think about that. Everything we trying to do against these men, we come out and we do our thing, but at the end of it, we always get the short end of the stick. Why is that? We're gonna find out. Watch this.
The loss of Prophetstown was a severe blow to the prestige of Chief T, but Tecumseh vowed to continue with the warriors of the Confederation.
Right.
Native Americans blamed the British for arming, or was that Americans?
Yeah, it's many Americans, but hold on before you read that, right? I want to read a precept and show y'all something. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 25, and verse number 26 and verse 25. It says, and I will bring a sword upon you that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant. And when ye are gathered together within your cities, so when you read about this, right, you got Chief T and his brother Tecumseh. They gathered together a large crowd of Gadites and Reubenites to fight against the oppression of the so-called white man, right? But what happened? Every time we went to war with them, something would happen where we'll get the short end of the stick. And it says that what? Chief T's men were forced to withdraw. Why? Because we started lacking resources and these devils started getting the upper hand on us. And at the process of that, we lost our town. And that was a huge blow. So watch what the Lord says again. He says, and when ye are gathered together within your cities, I will send a pestilence among you, and ye shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy. So think about that, man. When you think about what we just read, when we gathered together in these cities, we gathered together in Prophetstown, when we thought we had what it took to overthrow these devils, the Lord still allowed us to lose the fight, lose our town, and for these devils to get another one up on us. Why? Because these were the days of vengeance, and the Lord said he was avenging his covenant being broken by our forefathers, right? So now keep reading, King.
God says many Americans blamed the British for arming and encouraging Chief T's rebellion. Tensions between Great Britain and the United States were at a high level following a number of disputes.
Come on, let's get through it. Yep.
Great Britain was at war with Napoleonic force and had established a blockade of neutral trade with France,
right?
Something that the United States considered illegal. Many Americans also seem to believe that British lands in Canada should be part of the United States.
Right. So now they want to take the rest of the lands that the British had, because that's where the British was whispering into the ear of the Northern Kingdom, telling them, hey, do this, do that. Don't give up. Don't let them take your land like that. But for the sake of time, America's going to get the upper end on British, right? And let's jump down, right? Let's jump down. Read where it says right here, American forces, King, so we can get out of here so you can do your part.
Yep. American forces invaded Canada, expecting to take the country quickly, but they were repulsed by British troops supported by warriors of Tecumseh's Confederation after a number of American military setbacks in 1812.
Come on.
General William Henry Harrison was
the same Edomite who destroyed Prophetstown. Come on.
Was given command of the Army of the Northwest. A detachment of this army was defeated in a battle near the River Raisin in Michigan Territory in January 1813.
Come on.
By British forces under the command of Brigadier General Henry Proctor, supported by Tecumseh. A large number of American prisoners were taken, and around 60 of these were unallied by Tecumseh's warriors in what became known as the River Raisin Massacre.
If you never heard of the River Raisin Massacre, look it up. That's some good information right there. So Tecumseh, he handling business. He said he wasn't going to stop. But let's see how it played out for our dear brother, man. Come on.
Despite these setbacks, Harrison regrouped his forces, and in the summer of 1813, the U.S. Navy gained control of Lake Erie, cutting the British off from their supplies. Brigadier General Proctor was forced to retreat north along the Thames River in Marylebone Town in present-day Ontario, accompanied by warriors of Tecumseh's Confederacy and by other warriors who were followers of Chief Roundhead and of Huron tribe.
Right, so now we seeing what's going on. Come on.
Harrison's forces allowed, and on October 5th, 1813, U.S. cavalry and infantry defeated first the British and then the Native American forces in what became known as the Battle of Thames.
So the Battle of Thames, you got to look that battle up. So the U.S., the Lord allowed his sword, which is the wicked, which is Babylon the Great, to prevail, like I told y'all, against the British. Then they took down the Native Americans in what became known as the Battle of Thames. If you want to know more about the Battle of Thames, look it up. Hey, it's good information. But let's see how the rest of this played out. Read the rest of this article out, King. Chapter out.
Both Tecumseh and Roundhead were unalived in the battle, and the Confederacy of Native American tribes in the Great Lakes region effectively collapsed, removing the last barrier to U.S. expansion west of the Appalachians.
Watch this.
However, it had become clear that the United States lacked the military power to conquer Canada, and that Britain had no desire to attempt the reconquest of the United States.
Watch this.
In August 1814, both sides met to negotiate a peace treaty in the city of Ghent in Brussels.
Watch this.
Initially, the British demanded the creation of a neutral Native American buffer state in the Northwest Territory.
Watch this.
American negotiators refused to accept this, and Britain, keen to the end in the costly and unproductive war, agreed. Instead, the final peace treaty included a clause which noted that Native Americans would be given all possessions, rights, and privileges which they may have enjoyed or been entitled to in 1811. In theory, this meant that Native American tribes would be entitled to all the lands they had occupied before the war. In practice, it meant nothing of the kind. American settlers simply ignored this clause of the treaty, and the British made no effort to enforce it. The expansion of white settlers into Native American lands continued unabated after the War of 1812.
So now, when you look at what we're talking about and what we're showing you here, we are showing you how the demise of our brothers, all right, of our kinsmen of the tribes, how it happened. How do we lose majority of our lands? It was just different wars after wars after wars, right? These people conquered us and overcame us, and at the end of all of it, they always end up taking our lands, right? So now when you think about it, they took over our lands, and now when you think about the Israelites, they tells you now when they tried to make a treaty, oh, we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll give you all your lands back. But at the end of it, it said that the American settlers simply ignored this clause of the treaty, and the British ignored it as well, and they gave up on it. And this is why when you look in the world today, guess what? The British is still flowing with wealth. In America, Babylon the Great is still flowing with wealth. But where is the northern kingdom of Israel? So just keep that in mind, and we got plenty more. So I yield with that, and this is the one I wanted to bring up next. But King, we good on that. We'll touch that on another time with the Seminoles.
Khan.
Yeah.
All praises. Right. So I just want to touch on so when you got all these things going on, right? Like the brother just brought out, right, during these times, but it didn't stop there. It didn't stop in 1812. As we can see in modern day, that hey, they never stopped trying to consume the lands of our brothers and our sisters. So one of these devils that we gonna get into, right, was this man here. Let me make sure my screen showing. And he helped kick off another war that happened with our fellow brothers and sisters, right? Which would be the Great Suez War, right? The Great Suez War. So we're gonna go to this devil right here. All right, this man right here. So it says this, and we just gonna get this right here. We're gonna click on him. Right. So it says George Armstrong Custer. Right, we're not really gonna too much care about his time alive, but check this out. It says was a United States Army officer and cavalry commander of the American Civil War and the American Indian Wars. Right, so he also was a commander in the American Indian War. Right, it says Custer graduated. I don't want to go too much deep. I want to jump down to the point. Right, jump down to the point. So it says this. Jump down right here. It says after the war, Custer was commissioned as a lieutenant colonel in the standing regular army and sent west to fight the ongoing Indian wars. So at this time, right, he became a colonel, right, and he was sent west because now you're seeing that the Americans, so-called white men, they're pushing more westward. So in time, you see what happened. They started off east because that's where the so-called white man landed, right? He landed. That's when he had the 13 colonies, right? The 13 colonies. So he ended up conquering that land. Then he kept pushing more westward. And that's what you have now, right? We're going into the Indian Wars, right? Mainly against Lakota Sioux, right? And that's when we're gonna go into the Great Sioux War, right? It says in the other Great Plains Native people on June 25th, 1876, while leading the Army 7th Cavalry Regiment at the Battle of Little Bighorn. This is a very big, infamous battle. They talk about this a lot in a lot of books and things like that in history. The Battle of Little Bighorn in southeastern Montana Territory against the coalition of Western Native American tribes. He was unallied with every soldier of the 5 companies he led of this regiment. This event became known as Custer's Last Stand. So this was a devil that was in charge. He got his name built up, right, being a part of the Civil War, but then he played also a big part in going to war against our brothers and sisters in the Great Sioux War of 1876. And this was his last stand. So here you see a story of our forefathers getting a one-up, right, on these devils, right? It says, I'm not finna really go into it, so we're going to go into the actual history of the Great Sioux War. So let's go to the Great Sioux War right here. So this was right here, it says, so I want y'all to kind of get a backdrop. So let's go up here, right? It says, the Great Sioux War of 1876, also known as Black Hills War, was a series of battles and negotiations that occurred in 1876 and 1877 between the Lakota Sioux and Northern Cheyenne. And in the United States, it began after gold had been discovered in the Black Hills, and settlers began encroaching on Native American lands. the U.S. government then wanted to obtain ownership of the area, and the Sioux and Cayenne refused. And you see right here, this is it's always it shows you the greed of the devil, right? He said, okay, it's not enough that we take your land. Now we want to come and take your land. You want to take your gold, right? We want to remove y'all from y'all land, right? And whenever it was a pushback, our forefathers, as you see, they didn't say, okay, all right, so-called white man, you got it. No, they would push back. They would go to war, right? So it says Red Cloud's War in 1866 to 68 established the dominance of the Agala Sioux over U.S. forces in southern Wyoming and southern Montana. So this war that happened, because there were many wars. So it doesn't kick off in 1812, and there were many wars prior to that, right? But this war, the Red Clouds War, it gave the Sioux a bigger hand, right, over the U.S. forces. Okay, so it says Wyoming and southern Montana east of the Bighorn Mountains. The Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868 between the Sioux Nation and the United States set aside a portion of the Sioux territory as the Great Sioux Reservation. So check this out. Now, and pay attention to as we keep reading, you see that there were many treaties that were signed, many covenants made, and it's always Esau, always the devil going back on his promises. So now in this situation right here, right, it says set aside a portion of the Sioux territory as a Great Sioux Reservation. Is this not the same thing that they done before, putting our forefathers where on these reservations? So now they're doing the same thing here. It says this included the Black Hills region for their exclusive use. It also provided for unceded territory of Cayenne and Lakota hunting grounds. This territory was called unceded in recognition that although the United States did not recognize Sioux ownership of the land, neither did it deny it that the Sioux had hunting rights here. So here you see a map, right? So this map right here is the area right here. It says
zoom in. Zoom
what?
in. We can't see that.
Okay. How you see that right there?
Con.
So here, when you see this map, right, this says this was the remember there was a treaty signed, right? The Lamera Treaty, right? This is the pink, this pink outline is showing you the boundary of the reservation. It's showing you the boundary. Again, let's keep in mind they make a treaty. Look at this. When you look at the slashes right here, which will be this region right here, right? This was lost in 1877. So even though they made a treaty with so-called white men, look what the white men took in this region. Look what they lost in 1889. This region right here. They lost this in 1889, right? And when you go to this crosshair region right here, they lost this in 1910. And now this in present day is what is left for them. This was left of the treaty, the Lamera Treaty that the so-called white man made with our brothers and sisters of the Sioux tribe. This is what they got left. This region right here, Standing Rock, this right here, the Cayenne River right here, and this little portion right here, and Pine Ridge and Rosebud. So when we look at when it comes to our people, right, and signing treaties with the so-called white man, they got overtaken every single time. But it goes back to what the brother brought out previously when it goes into never trust our enemies. And some of our brothers and sisters had that spirit to recognize it. Some of them didn't, right? And it also goes back to this precept here. I want to bring this out in Deuteronomy. It also goes like this precept here. Because it goes back, you got to remember that what we see here are these curses, right? The curses being played out in real time, right? Though we can set up an army, we can have this, we can have that, but if we're not keeping these commandments, it's all for naught, right? So it says this Deuteronomy 28 and verse 29. It says, "Thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. Who you gotta think in your mind? Don't you think our brothers and sisters, they wanted to prosper? They wanted to overcome the white man. They put all they can into this. They fought war after war after war. That's what we going into. They fought a war in 1812. You had the Pequot Wars. You had the wars with the Mohicans. You had the wars up there in England, right? Massachusetts, right? You got the Black Hawk War, you got the Comanche campaign, you got all these many wars that our people they wanted to be successful in, but because we're under the curses, because we are the people that broke the commandments of the Most High God as a nation, right? Lord said these curses will be upon us, and we see in here it says, "Thou shalt not prosper in thy ways," and we see this. It says, "And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoil evermore." Right? It says we're gonna be spoiled, we're gonna be oppressed and spoiled evermore. And you see by these different wars, so we're gonna get another war. We're gonna get into the Black Hawks War, right?
Hey, I got a precept before you do that, King.
Con.
All right, so like you see what the brother going, you ain't gotta take your screen off. But as you see what we're going into, he's showing you how time and time after again, these so-called devils that we labor across and we work for today and that we are neighbors to, since the invention and time of America becoming a nation, they have done nothing but lie to us, oppress us, colonize us, kill us, and take over our land, and everything they promise to us, they break it. So this is the book of Isaiah chapter 10 and verse number 1. It says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless." Right? And so this is the people that write unrighteous decrees, unrighteous treaties, and they write them towards the Israelites with no plans or no intentions on honoring them or keeping them, because their whole objective is to do what? Take over all our lands, colonize us, and have us at the bottom of their feet, because this thing is more personal than what you might know. So I got another one real quick. I got two more. This is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse number 9. It says, "Woe to him that coveted an evil covetousness to his house." Right? Who is the man that coveted these evil covetousness to his house? It's Esau, right? Name Britain, name America, name Portugal, name Spain, name England, name Russia, name Germany. This is the man, no matter where you look at, has added to his house evil after evil after evil, doing to having a covenant eye, right? It says that he might set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and has sinned against thy soul. So these are the people that did that. Let me jump to verse 12. It says, "Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood." So this is why the Lord said, "Destruction to him that buildeth a town with blood." This is why when you read in the Bible, Yahweh said it's going to be known and it's going to be referenced. Who is that coming from Basra with blood all over his garment? Because why? The Lord got a date plan for these people for the atrocities, because they destroyed a whole town, right? They destroyed the Great Lakes region. They destroyed Ohio, and even what the Officer Aliyah going into right now, they destroyed and took over all these lands just to do what? So that they can establish a city for themselves built off of sin. And so this is why the Lord say, "Woe to them," right? This is why destruction is due to the so-called white man who's biblically known as Esau. Because why? He have shed the blood of many people to establish cities for himself and for his children, so that what? His name might be established forever. And like what we just read, that he might set his nest on high, right? I got one more precept and you got it, King. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 58 and verse number 1. "Do you indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Yea, in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. And this is what they do. They weigh the violence that they do in the earth. This is why they keep records and they keep documents. Like if we only had the time, right? Because we know everybody can't be on here all night. We got books on top of books, all written from the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1800s, letting you know not only did these devils execute violence against us, but they also wrote it, documented it, and shared it amongst themselves to celebrate the atrocities that they have done to us, and they looking at it as heroic acts. But that's all I got, bro.
Con. Hey, that's perfectly right. Hey, Con. Well said. So let's go to this right quick. Now we going into the Black Hawk War, right, in 1832. So this was a little further in further in time, but wait, hold on. It started in 1832, but it also ended around 1872. So it says and I'm gonna read it right here. It says in the early 1800s, the Sauk and Fox Indians lived along the Mississippi River from northwest Illinois to southwestern Wisconsin. The Sauk leader Black Sparrow Hawk was born in Sauknock, a large village at the mouth of the Rock River located near present-day Rock Island, Illinois. Right, so it says in 1830, seeking to make way for settlers moving into Illinois, the United States required the Sauk to move and accept new lands in present-day Iowa. So just laying back what the brother is bringing out, look what this devil is doing. He's saying, hey, man, you know what? Hey, we trying to make way for our settlers. We need y'all to move from where y'all stay at right now. And we need y'all to go and y'all need to relocate to present-day Iowa. Right? They want to remove us from our land. It says they struggled to prepare enough acreage for their crops. The winter of 1831 to 1832 was extremely difficult. In April 1832, Black Hawk led about 1,000 Sauk and Fox people back to northern Illinois. Black Hawk hoped to forge a military alliance with the Winnebago and other tribes. They intended to plant corn on their ancestral farmland. And when you look at this is so crazy, right? When you look at what happened to our people from the very first book the brother brought out, when we was in this land, we had it. What we was doing? We was going to war fighting against each other. Now Esau and the Lord sent his sword, which is the so-called white man, and they putting a belt on our people. Look what's happening now. Now they're forming alliances. Now they're like in their minds, it's more feasible for us to join ranks together than to be fighting together. And just when you read it was the words of Chief Tecumseh on the last book we just read. He said it's better that we all unite as we should at the first. So it was, you see now it's putting their spirits because they're getting oppressed on a rapid rate. They're getting removed out of their homelands. They're facing famines. It said it was a difficult winter. Why? Because they're losing land that's getting occupied by the so-called white man. So a lot is going on. They catching hell on every end, right? And this how we know also that what these people align with the curses, and they align with the curses that the Lord said would happen to the Israelites, which will be God's chosen people, which we are, right? And we're seeing the history and the things that happened to them. It says they intended to plant corn on their ancestral farmland, fearing the Sauk. Illinois settlers promptly organized a militia. Observing the military forces organizing against him, Black Hawk considered his actions and decided to surrender. Yet an undisciplined militia ignored a peace flag and attacked the Sauk. So check this out. So he decided to surrender, and they end up undisciplined. They end up attacking them anyway, right? And it says the Indian warriors promptly returned fire. The militia retreated in a panic, many forgetting their firearms. The Sauk collected the weapons and retreated northward along the Rock River into Wisconsin. the Black Hawk War had begun. So now we're seeing the beginning of the Black Hawk War. And it all started from what? Esau want to remove our people from their land, telling them, all right, y'all need to, we trying to make room for our settlers. Then our people, they having difficulty planting crops. Then you got the settlers, they coming in and they want to attack the Northern Kingdom. And Northern Kingdom, they end up surrendering and they still attack them either way. So that's a devil for you. So when you go into this, right, and I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but this is when you see the beginning, right, of the Black Hawk War, which was from which ended around the time of 1872, and these wars, the Black Hawk War was a part of the what you have the Apache and the Navajo War as well, right? So I did want to get one more. I had one more war. I want to get right. I'm gonna get one more. This is this going into the Comanche campaign. All these wars tie into, because at the end of the day, you had Esau coming and taking these people land, they pushing farther, because so now you're seeing the different tribes that they was overtaking. So now we finna go into the Comanche campaign, which was from 1805 to 1878. We're gonna get into the Comanche campaign. Right now, we're gonna get into this joint right here. So let's get this right quick. It says this: the Comanche campaign is a general term for military operations by the United States government against the Comanche tribe in the newly settled West. So as we see, as time goes on, again, the Americans, they're moving farther west as possible. It says between 1865 and 1875, military units fought against the Comanche people in a series of expeditions and campaigns until the Comanche surrendered and relocated to a reservation. So now this goes back into what? Let's go to this right quick. I'm gonna go this other precept, this other curse in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse number. So I'm gonna say, get this right quick. Deuteronomy 28, and here it says, it's 28:19. It says, curse. It says, curse. First, I'm gonna read up though. It says, I'm gonna read up to verse 17. It says, "Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store." And we see thy basket and thy store is going into thy crops, thy merchandise, the things that you will have. And you see that very thing happen to our people doing it with the Black Hawk tribe, right? The Sauk tribe, right? When the so-called white men, the settlers from the Illinois regions, was moving them out, they had difficult what? Winters. They could barely grow crops. It says, "Cursed shall be the fruits of thy body and the fruit of thy land, and in the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep." You look at it, it says the fruit of thy land, right? It's cursed shall be the fruits of our land, even the crops we tried to grow, we could not increase. It says even the increase of thine kind, meaning your cattle, the different cattle that we had. They had ox and sheep and things like that, ox and sheep, but they had bison. They had bison and things like that. Look what happened to the bison, right? How millions of bison were obliterated by the so-called white man.
I got
right?
something
It
for you.
says, huh?
I got something for you.
Con.
You want me to bring it out for you real quick and read it for you?
Yeah, con.
All right, let me read this for you real quick. All right, let me read this for you real quick.
You get.
Hold on, let me share my screen real quick. I'm gonna give it back to you. I'm gonna give it right back. So this going into what you're saying, and then I also want to read something for you on your Comanche. I got some on that too, and I'm gonna read it for you and let you dive into it. It's going directly into what you're talking about right now, and this is spirit. Let me a second. So let me go past this. This for another day. All right. So give me a second. That's crazy. All right, here we go. So this is the Sheridan Wars, like he going into, right? So it says Sheridan encouraged the poaching of bison on lands which nominally belonged to the Native American tribes, believing that removing this source of food would reduce the number of tribes. Hunters killed more than 4 million bison until by 1874. Numbers were dropping precipitously when the governor of Texas attempted to introduce legislation against this killing. Sheridan objected, suggesting instead that each hunter should be presented with a medal showing a bison on one side and an hungry Indian on the other. Sheridan also presided over a series of battles, skirmishes, and massacres, which have become known as the Black Hawk War, fought between members of UT, Apache, Navarro, and Comanche. That's what we're gonna go into. But man, that's all I want to bring out for you. And when you go back to the Comanche stuff, I want to read something for you over here as well.
God, and that's so crazy how that tied right into all that tied into together, going into the Black Hawk Wars, and how the Navajo, they mentioned the Navajo and Apache all together, right? But you see though, again, we see that these different things that we always mention and saying, it all resorts back to the scriptures. Everything we talking about comes back to the scriptures at the end of the day. So let me share my screen on this right quick and finish this out.
You see this on the screen, though? You see what I got highlighted? Do you want to touch on this? Just going into what you're talking about as well. I read it to you.
Okay. I got you.
All right.
It says,
hold on, let me stop. You good?
Oh, okay. Oh, you gonna get that next?
Yeah, next. Yeah.
Okay. Con. That's good stuff right there. So boom. Let's get this right quick. Yeah. So let's finish this right quick. It says and cursed shalt thou be. It says, cursed shalt thou be. First I'm gonna read 18 again. It says, cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. And so when you look at that exactly lines up with the curse. It says, they killed millions of bison. That's what so-called white man did, right? But when we look at this, you see these curse laws say what happened to the Israelites, and it's no negating or no wiggle room to say that these people are not the Israelites that the Bible speak of, just as well as we are, right? Or the Southern Kingdom, right? Or your brothers that came from the west coast of Africa, right? It says this: cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. So basically, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, you're going to be on these curses. Why? Because of our disobedience to the Most High God. And you see, as what happened, at one point in time, they had land. And ever since the Most High sent his sword, which would be the so-called white man, they've been catching hell ever since. So let's go back to this Comanche campaign joint. You want to get that first that you had? You muted.
I said, yeah, Con, I can go into it. I can read this for you. Just let me know when you want me to stop, because what you reading right here, it goes into the same accounts and shows how this stuff kicked off.
Con, you go ahead and get it, King.
All right, so I'll read it for you. Just let me know when to stop. You see it?
Con.
All right, so I got you. This is chapter 6, and it says Wars in the Wild West. And it says, in the 19th century up to the period of American Civil War, huge numbers of white settlers began to colonize lands west of the Mississippi River. This inevitably brought them into conflict with the Native American tribes who already lived there. From around 1820 to 1890, there were a bewildering number of relatively small local wars between white settlers and Native Americans in the west of America. It is beyond the.
Stop right there. Mm-hmm. It says a bewildering number. So there was a lot of small wars that went on during those times. So when we look at this right here, we see, well, dang, they really was at war with the so-called white man. It says from 1820 right to 1890, and that's not even getting into the wars we talked about previously that we talked about what 2 weeks ago, right? A week ago, right? So they've been constantly at war with so-called white men for years, all while we in captivity. All while the so-called black man was under the thumb of the so-called white man in shackles and chains. Our brothers, our Northern Kingdom brothers, they at war with the so-called white man, getting unalive at rapid rate, getting they bison even unalive, to millions of bison being unalive. Crazy, right? Keep going.
Con. It is beyond the scope of this book to describe each of these in detail. Instead, this chapter provides an overview of some of the main conflicts which took place up until the end of the American Civil War in 1865. In the
Right.
in the early part of the 19th century, large number of white settlers began to move west of the Mississippi River into what will become the western United States. Many of these settlers arrived in what it is now the state of Texas, and from 1830 to 1870s, there were a number of armed confrontations between these settlers and the indigenous Native American population, mainly compromising people from the Comanche and Kiowa tribes.
Right. And so now you're looking and you're seeing now, and when you pay attention to everything we're seeing, you're now learning the different regions where our brothers and sisters dwelt, and the different tribes that dwelt in those regions, right? And now we're looking at, as we're moving west, now we're going into the Comanche tribe, right? We mentioned many different tribes prior to this. Now we're going into the Comanche tribe and where they dwelt at, and they dwelt in what you call the Texas region now, right? Them in the Kiowa tribes. But you keep going.
Con. In 1836, a large group of Comanche, Kiowa, and Delaware warriors attacked Fort Parker, an outpost established by members of the Pilgrim Predestinarian Baptist Church, who had arrived in the area in 1834 and constructed the fort as a defense against raids. 5 men were unalive during the raid, and 2 women and 3 children were captured and abducted. Later that year, the Republic of Texas, a sovereign and independent state, was established, and its first president, Sam Houston, pursued a policy of peaceful coexistence with Native Americans despite
So start right there. So now if you're not paying attention, this was Texas had its own little thing going on at this time. It said the Republic of Texas. So Texas had its own little thing going on right now. But with that being said, within its own government, it wasn't at this time, as you would say, joined to the United States at this very moment, right? Just want to give y'all a little backdrop on that. Keep going.
However, the next president of the Republic followed a very different policy, attempting to deport both the Comanche and the Kiowa from Texas. After a series of skirmishes, a number of Comanche chiefs were invited to a peace conference at San Antonio in March 1840. The
Right, and you start there. Now it's always, and when we look at the how crazy it goes, there's always a more wicked devil that comes into place, right? That's like how you had that one when the brother was brought up in the video. That one man, he said that George Washington put in place that created the American.
Mad Anthony Wayne.
Yeah, Mad Anthony Wayne. They always got a Mad Anthony Wayne. They always get one into play that's worse than the last, right? And so now this other, he say he was under a different policy. He said, I'm not trying to do the same thing you was doing. I want to remove these people from their land. And it don't matter, and when it comes to so-called white men, it don't matter what they do to get you about that land, right? And that goes back to also, again, the scriptures we brought out earlier in Habakkuk, like when I said they enlarge your desire as hell in death. They're gonna do whatever and what they can to get what they want, right? And that's when you go into this and understand this. When it comes down to our Lord and Savior coming back in Babylon, aka America, receiving the judgment they're going to see, they're going to receive. We're going to get into that, but keep going.
Come. It says the negotiations quickly devolved into fighting, in which 35 Comanche chiefs were unalived and 30 more were taken prisoner. This apparent betrayal left a legacy of distrust and hatred, which led to many years of war between.
Hold on. Start there. Again, it says this apparent betrayal, right? It said left a legacy of distrust. So it's leaving you, and you gotta think about this is what this country built off of: betrayal, dishonesty, innocent bloodshed, thievery, theft, right? Murder. That's what this place is built off of. This is what they call America the Great. It's built off all these things we just said, right? And it's crazy how some of our people, just in a few days from now, about 2 more days, they're going to be celebrating and having a good time with the ham hocks and the candy yams and the collard greens and a fried chicken, talking about Thanksgiving. Ain't nothing to be thankful about. When you see what happened to our brothers and sisters, what is there to be thankful about? All these unalivings that happened to the Comanche chiefs, all these unalivings that happened to the brothers that was in the Northeast, that dwelt in the Northeast in Massachusetts area, the ones that dwelt in the Illinois area, the ones that dwelt in the Florida area, right? There's nothing to be thankful about, because all it was is the so-called white man getting the upper hand on your brothers and sisters. But you keep going.
I got a precept for you real quick.
Go ahead.
You can break it. You can break it down though. This is the book of Nahum, chapter 3, and verse number 1.
Whew.
It says, "Woe to the bloody city! It is all full of lies."
Right, hold on. It says, "Woe to the bloody city." That's America. It says, "Woe." So if you don't know, woe means death, right? Woe to or death to the bloody city, right? It said it's all full of lies. Look at the betrayals. Look at all these treaties. Look at all these covenants, these promises, these empty promises that the so-called white man has given and have bestowed to our brothers and sisters. And they have built this country off what? Read that again, King.
It says, "Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery."
And lies and what?
Robbery.
It says lies and robbery. Look how much robbery has taken place since the 13 colonies have set foot in America. Think about that. At first it was 13 colonies. Now they got a whole 50 states where they removed our brothers and sisters out of their land. Right? It's some more on that, King?
Yeah, just a little bit more. And it said, "And the prey departeth not." And that's it.
Con.
All right, so back to the article. It says, "This apparent betrayal left a legacy of distrust and hatred, which led to many years of war between the Comanche and the white settlers in Texas. When Texas joined the United States in 1845, federal troops joined in the fight against the Comanche. Between 1856 and 1875, there were a series of wars, bloody battles, and attacks on Comanche towns and American farmsteads and settlements. This series of conflicts was only brought to an end in 1875 when the Comanche finally agreed to move to a reservation in southwestern Oklahoma.
Boom. So start right there. So now we're seeing what happened. Again, that beautiful precept the brother just brought out in Nahum chapter 3. It says, "Woe to a city that's built off of blood." It said it was bloody battles. Look how many battles and things that went down under the hand of the so-called white man. But then when we think about it, it's like we gotta reflect on, why did it all happen? Why did it all have to come to this? And it draws back and comes back to us in our disobedience and disobeying the Most High God and His laws and statutes, commandments that He gave to us as a nation and people, His chosen people, to follow and to live by. And that's why you see these things happening to our brothers and sisters. But also there is a future prophecy. I just want not to go crazy, but just to show you that as we see these things that the so-called white man has done to our brothers and sisters, right, on this diabolically, right, we got this precept right here. That's why you have a precept like right here in Revelation chapter 18, right? Just keep this in mind. It says this. I'm gonna read verse 4. It says, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins." And just like how Chief T was telling our brothers and sisters back then, Don't be following the ways of so-called white men. We telling our people the same thing that Chief T was telling our people before. Don't follow their ways. We're telling them now, don't keep Thanksgiving, right? Don't be keeping Christmas. These are the ways of the heathen, right? And our people, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans shouldn't be doing these things or partaking in the evils or the wickedness of the heathen nations that we are amongst at this very moment in time. It says this, and that you receive not of her plagues, for her sins have reached unto heaven. Her sins are the very things we're reading about. All these different articles and books that we're going into, you're seeing the atrocities and the sins of the so-called white man and what they have done to the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? And God have remembered her iniquities. So he remembered all those faulty treaties, those lies, the betrayal, right? The bloody battles, all these things that they have done to his people, right? Reward her even as she has rewarded you. So there's going to be a reward, right? There's going to be justice that's going to happen to this place for the things they have done to our people. I just want to say that, right? So I'm going to stop there, and I want to get this last bit. Really, to be honest, bro, that book really kind of just hit it home for what I was going to go into for the Comanche trial, to be honest with you.
I know.
But hey, all praise Most High for that. But you had something else you want to
No, I just want to bring out this one precept and give it back to you. This is the book of Lamentations, chapter. Watch this. Lamentations chapter 4 and verse number 21. No, verse 19. Verse 17. Sorry. So there's some good stuff here. It says, as for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heavens. They pursued us upon the mountains. They laid wait for us in the wilderness. The breath of our nostrils, the anointed of the Lord, was taken in their pits, of whom we said, under his shadow we shall live among the heathen. Watch what it say next. And this is proven, like what I brought out earlier in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 49. It tells you a nation shall come from far, as swift as the eagle flieth. Now, you just heard what Jeremiah said, right? The nations that came after us were swift like eagles. Now watch what he say. Verse 21, he says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and thou shalt make thyself naked. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. Now, next verse. Now, when you think about this, back in the day, these chapters, it wasn't chapters, these were letters. So now when you're going into the 5th chapter of Lamentations chapter 5, he's still talking about the same people, and the same thing is telling these Edomites to be glad and be joyful, right? Watch this. Now he's praying. He says, remember, O Yahweh, what has come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Our inheritance is turned to strangers, our houses to aliens. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mother are as widows. We have drunken our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. We have given the hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians to be satisfied with bread, right? And who is this talking about? This is talking about Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. So I just want to show you that even our forefather Jeremiah seen through the spirit of vision and prophecy that these people was going to do these things to us, man. But you got it.
Con. That's right, though. That's right. And I want to show it. I also, for those brothers and sisters Now this is, I just want to show y'all this as well, because we did have some information that I want to give brothers and sisters about this. It's called the Pequot Massacre, right? For those brothers and sisters that's not familiar with it, this goes into the very first Thanksgiving that there was, right? And I want to kind of bring out this history so y'all can understand what it is that y'all actually really keeping. Y'all don't even know what y'all keeping, right? And you see this right here, it says Indian land for sale, get a home of your own, easy payments, right? So forth and so forth. But for the sake of time, I ain't gonna read this whole thing, but I want to just show y'all. It says the real story of Thanksgiving.
Zoom in, King. Zoom in.
Okay. Is that how that is?
It's good.
Con. The real story of Thanksgiving by Susan Bates. Most of us associate the holiday with happy pilgrims and Indians sitting down to a big feast that did happen once, right? So that's what you mostly think about in your mind. But when you actually do the research, that is not the case. A lot of our people, especially growing up, right? You in school, they got you, especially with your kids. You paint your hands, right? They put red paint on this hand, orange paint on this hand. You slap your hand on there. Then you slap your other hand on the knife. That's you making a turkey, and they got you thinking, oh, it was all giggle, fools, and happiness going on, but that wasn't the case. We're going to go into what really went down and what really was a Thanksgiving day to the so-called white man, a feast for the so-called white man. Right? It says the story began in 1614. So this goes back a little earlier than what we was talking about tonight, right? So we're gonna have to be just going back just a little bit. But bear with us. It says when a band of English explorers sailed to England, right, with a ship full of Patuits Indians bound for slavery, and this goes in as well. So let's just think about this. Let's not move too fast. It said a band of English explorers sailed home, so they going home to England with a ship full of Patuits Indians bound for slavery. So again, for those that might say, well, hey, you know, how I don't know, how do we know that we was the only one on ships? Where here is a article showing you that the Native Americans were in fact on slave ships. So that prophecy in Deuteronomy 28 verse 68, they're saying that we was going to Egypt, meaning slavery again by transportation of ships. We see this happen to our fellow brothers and sisters. Again, just because they didn't come to America, they went to another place under the thumb or rulership of the so-called white man, which in turn would be Egypt or slavery altogether. Okay, so it says this: they left behind smallpox, which virtually wiped out those who had escaped. By the time the Pilgrims arrived in Massachusetts Bay, they found only one living Patuits Indian, a man named Squanto, who had survived slavery in England and knew their language. He taught them to grow corn and to fish and negotiate a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Nation. Right at the end of their first year, the Pilgrims had a great feast honoring Squanto and Wampanoag. Right now, in this, they would say, okay, well, see there, it sounds like everybody got along. It seems like it was a peaceful time, right? But let's keep reading. But as word spread in England about the paradise to be found in the New World, religious zealots called Puritans began arriving by the boatload, finding no fences around the land. They considered it to be a public domain. Joined by British settlers, they seized land, capturing strong young natives for slaves and unaliving the rest. So you might have thought it started off like this, but no. Check this out, right? But the Pequot Nation had not agreed to the peace treaty Squanto had negotiated, and they fought back. The Pequot War was one of the bloodiest Indian wars ever fought. So this is one of the bloodiest ones. This is one of the most craziest ones. And this was the ones that started off your Thanksgiving, right? Quotation. In In 1637, near present-day Groton, Connecticut, over 700 men, women, and children of the Pequot tribe had gathered their annual Green Corn Festival, which is our Thanksgiving celebration. In the pre-dawn hours, the sleeping Indians were surrounded by English and Dutch mercenaries who ordered them to come outside. Those who came out were shot and clubbed to death, while the terrified women and children who huddled inside the longhouse were burnt alive. The next day, the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony declared a day of thanksgiving. So the next day, right? Let's listen to this. The next day, the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony declared a day of thanksgiving because 700 unarmed men, women, and children had been unalive. This is what this devil did. He declared a day to celebrate that he unalived 700 of our brothers and sisters. And our people go willy-nilly and say, yep, Thanksgiving, they rubbing their hands, rubbing their damn belly, looking for a day of wickedness, right? That happened to our brothers and sisters, right? And we think about it, when we have the days that Lord proclaimed to us, it was for us to keep, that Lord ordained for us to follow the things that he told us to do, not for us to follow the ways of the heathen, of them celebrating their victory over our brothers and sisters, right? Cheered by their victory, the brave colonists and their Indian allies attacked village after village. Women and children over 14 were sold into slavery, while the rest were unalive. Boats loads with many as 500 slaves regularly left ports of New England.
Watch
So
this.
this
You see. Hey, Salaki, I got a precept for you, because a lot of people might say that only Judah, Benjamin, and Levi was sold as slaves on ships, right? This is the book of Hosea, chapter 9, and verse number 16. It says, Ephraim is smitten, their root is dried up, they shall bear no fruit. Yea, though they bring forth, yet will I slay even the beloved fruit of their womb, which is who? Their children. It says, my God will cast them away, because they did not hearken unto him, and they shall be wanderers among the nations. So how would you be able to wander amongst the nations? By being scattered as slaves, right? So that's it.
Fire precept. That goes exactly what's going on, man. So it says, bounties were paid for Indian scalps to encourage as many deaths as possible. Look, man, you can't. This is crazy, yo. So y'all gotta see when it comes to you actually celebrating things, and that's why I said this. I'm gonna get this precept right quick. I ain't gonna bring it up, but I'm gonna just read it in the book of Hosea. Just we use that. I'm gonna go to Hosea 4, right? It says, I'm gonna go to Hosea 4 and 6. It says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. When you look at the so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans today, you can see that they are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. They have no knowledge. They don't want to take the time to research. They don't want to take the time to Google it. We're in the age of information. It don't take you but a minute or two to Google something, and you take this information and realize that the things that we're keeping, the things that we're celebrating are against the Most High God. They are contrary to the ways the Most High God told us to live, right? We're supposed to keep his high holy days of days he ordained us to keep, right? I.e. your Passover, your tabernacles, your dedications, the blowing of the trumpets, the Pentecost, and things of this manner, not the celebration of the unaliving of our brothers and sisters, right? And then not after too long after that, you're about to get ready to go practice Saturnalia, right? Christmas, right? It says, because thou hast rejected knowledge. And a lot of our people at this day, they're rejecting the knowledge. Oh, y'all know what y'all talking about. Nah, that ain't that ain't happening. The knowledge is right there. It takes nothing for you to sit down and actually read and look into it, right? And not only just the knowledge of what happened to your brothers and sisters, but the knowledge of who God is. and the knowledge of how to serve God righteously. They reject that, right? So I just want to kind of bring that out. So let's go back to this where I was at. It's crazy though. Like, where is that? Dang. I gotta find my dang link. All right, yeah, I found it. Okay. All right, there we go. So boom. It says this. Following an especially successful raid against the Pequot in what is now Stamford, Connecticut, the churches announced the second day of the Thanksgiving to celebrate victory over the heathen savages. So what happened is they had a back to back, right? It says during the feasting, the hacked off heads of natives were kicked through the streets like soccer balls. Even the friendly Wampanoag did not escape the madness. So even the ones that, like Saquon, when we started reading, those same ones, they had that treaty with the so-called white man. It was all peaceful. You know, they were sitting and blase, so they thought. But when you go into the precepts, like the brother was bringing out mightily tonight about our people trusting our enemy, right? Look what happened to them. It said they couldn't even escape the madness. Their chief was beheaded and his head impaled on a pole in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where it remained on display for 24 years. It says this, and I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but it's crazy. I suggest brothers and sisters read it for yourself, but I want y'all to see how wild this was. I got two more little joints right there, two more sentences. It says the unalivings became more and more frenzied with days of Thanksgiving feasts being held after each successful massacre. So after each time they massacred one of our brothers and sisters, every time they had a massacre, they had a feast. So you didn't have a yearly Thanksgiving. They had Thanksgiving throughout the year. Every time, we done massacre some of them Native Americans. Let's have a feast. Let's celebrate. Yahtzee, right? Madness. George Washington finally suggested that only one day of Thanksgiving per year be set aside instead of celebrating each and every massacre. So when you go and realize what Thanksgiving is about, it's really about the so-called white man celebrating and having his victory of our people playing soccer balls with their heads in the streets. That's crazy, but that's what our people celebrate to this day instead of realizing that, hey, we need to stop living like this. We need to return back to our Lord and Savior and keep these commandments that was given to us as a nation. And I want to get this one. Never mind, you got it, Kim. I yield with that.
Cause I ain't got nothing else, bro. Let's go. This is it for the day. You know what I'm saying? We didn't hear brothers and sisters with history on top of history on top of history, going into the wars that led to the demise of our people. Now we do still got to touch on Reuben, right? We still got to touch on Reuben, right? With the wars between Reuben and Andrew Jackson during his reign. But we're not gonna bombard y'all with enough. We feel like we didn't gave y'all enough tonight with precepts and evidence, with videos proving that these people that we are living amongst is not our friends, but these people are our enemies, man. And we must prepare ourselves and separate ourselves from these people, because it is also prophesied in the same Bible that prophesied that we will be led as slaves throughout all nations. We will be destroyed by our enemies and subdued. That also that the Most High will redeem us and destroy our enemies, and we'll be there to witness it and watch it and give praise and honor and glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. So that's it for us today, man. We pray that this was edifying, educational, motivational, and hey, add this history to your arsenal, because the Bible tells you to search out for your fathers. You know what I'm saying? Learn to inquire of the former age, and you know what I'm saying. Use this information to teach the other ones that might not know. For those who might be willing to celebrate Thanksgiving this week, but don't understand why you don't celebrate it. Be there to educate them and show them all the atrocities the evils, the bad treaties that these devils have committed, and even show them what these devils doing to this day. So with that, man, that's all we got. You know what I'm saying? You got something else?
King.
Oh, so with that, we pray y'all have a blessed rest of the week. Y'all stay in the spirit. Y'all stay away from the Thanksgiving feast that your, Grandma Pam gonna us throw. You know what I'm saying? Stay away from that blue top that Uncle Mike might gonna try to bring. Stay away from them chillings. Stay away from that whole abominable feast, man. Stay in the spirit, and hey, stay in the spirit, endure, and most high willing, everybody have a blessed Shabbat. With that, hey, this is another Truth Revealing Tuesday from the servants. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shabbarakatham. Shalom.
Shalom.